वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू। ये मेरे लिए बहुत सौभाग्य की बात है कि आज मुझे ये मौका मिला कि मैं आप सभी का स्वागत कर पाऊँ। मेरा नाम अदिति है और मैं चाइल्ड राइट्स एंड यूथ संस्था के साथ कार्यरत हूँ। It's a very important day for us because we would be releasing the study findings for the study POXO and beyond, understanding online safety during COVID. And this day is even more important for us because we have the privilege to have amongst us such great dignitaries with us, Dr. P.M. Nair, retired Justice Mridula Mishra, Professor Akarya, and Neerja Shekhar ma'am. It is indeed a matter of pride and privilege for us. And thank you, friends and colleagues from the civil society organizations to be able to join us today. So the event today will be divided into two parts. The first part is an inaugural session wherein we will hear some very important feedback, input and suggestions from our dignitaries present today. And in the second session, we will be sort of releasing the study findings, and we will have our cyber law experts to be contemplating and pondering on the same. Also, it's a very important day for us because Pooja is here with us. She couldn't be here with us physically, but she has joined us from Mumbai. So thank you so much, Pooja, for joining us from Mumbai.
Hi.
Yes, so I would now request Ms. Jaya Singh, who is the General Manager, Development Support, CRY North, to welcome the dignitaries with a bouquet and memento. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
This sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Yes. Yes.
I'll ask Jaya to take this session further. Thank you, Jaya.
Thank you, Aditi. Thank you so much. So, to start, because today we are here to discuss about our children and about the POXO Act, how it has actually been a milestone for children's well-being, and then about the cyber security aspect, about the online safety and how the breach of online safety has actually occurred a lot after COVID. So, first of all, I would like to welcome our CEO Pooja Marwaji, who has joined us from Mumbai. So, we are really happy to have her here with us, and we are keeping this on a hybrid mode this entire session. And Pooja was to come here to Delhi, but somehow, due to some unforeseen circumstances, she has joined us online. So, I would just like to give a brief introduction about Pooja. So, Pooja believes that children are the very foundation of every nation's growth and development aspirations. It was this belief that fueled her passion for children's rights and inspired her to become a full-fledged part of the social sector in 1994. A postgraduate in human resources from XISS Ranchi, Pooja has worked with Citicorp in a previous avatar and joined CRY to set up the HR function. She went on to become the chief executive in 2010, and over the past 25 years, she has helped build a solid organizational framework for CRY, which reflects the values of justice and equality for all children. She has been awarded the Olga Alexieva Memorial Prize in 2018 for social innovation. She currently also serves on the board of VANI, which is Voluntary Action Network India, in an endeavor to strengthen public mobilization for social causes. So now I invite Pooja to deliver her inaugural address. Yes, Pooja.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you for the embarrassing introduction, Jaya. And my deepest apologies that I'm not able to be there in person. Unfortunately, for those of you who are from the not-for-profit or for-purpose organization space, you will understand that when a donor calls, then unfortunately everything becomes subordinate to that. So today, actually, we are here to do something that CRY has become deeply concerned about in the last 3-4 years. Technology. So one, obviously, the act itself, the whole action of us creating a legal and policy framework for prevention of offenses against children is for those of us interested in children. It has been a huge step forward, and I don't have to reiterate that. However, I don't think we took into account, and this is about, I think, the bewildering rate almost at which the world changes around us. Yeah. And COVID in many ways pushed that change much, much faster with an impetus that perhaps we did not expect, and basically we've all bumped into technology, and it is a double-edged sword, right? So while it looks very nice that the data shows that between 2020 to 2022, we actually have a spike of more than 110 million broadband users. For those of us who work in India, we know that 110 million, it sounds like a huge number. Of course, it's always a very small percentage of our total population, but it's still a very big number. And there has been an overall increase in tele density in rural areas and a never before level of penetration of both unmediated and unregulated technology is also being documented. Yeah, so of our total internet population, 433 million are 12 and above, which truly means that, and this I suppose is the positive side of technology, right? So everybody is talking about digital access. People are looking for digitally enabled solutions to our problems. And therefore this access on paper and for our children during COVID, when they needed the access, looks good. But it is a huge issue as well, right? It is, as I said, a double-edged sword. A colleague of mine said, to me, Abhik, that, and here come the sharks. Along with this amazing story, with the tide come the sharks, right? There has been a huge increase in predators that are using this medium to lure and exploit children and adolescents. Specifically, are children and adolescents in rural areas who have little or no internet training, right? So some facts are crazy, Interpol has estimated that a staggering 2.4 million instances of online child sexual abuse is being reported from India pre-COVID in 2070, with 80% of these children being girls. India has accounted for 11.7% of the total reports in a global compilation of reports. So, I mean, if you look at any reports across, what we are seeing is that India, with its unregulated internet access, has become a global hub for child pornography material, has become a source of abuse, and this is, to me, what worries me is that you and I, all of us know that in India, what we see reported is very often only the tip of an iceberg, isn't it? We are never able to report that much. For example, if we look at our own study, we assess that one in every, and this we released in 2020, one in every 3 adolescents exposed to the internet were victims of cyberbullying, other forms of online abuse. And nearly half of the users displayed some level of internet addiction. Also, it suggested that perhaps 75% of the children between 13 and 18 had no clear knowledge of any minimum age required or any knowledge of the methodologies that you have to use to guard yourself. So we found it was crazy that 2 among 5 users were open to accept requests from strangers. And therefore, if you look at the NCRP data, we are looking at almost 13,000 children just in the 6 months of 2020 who have complained against child pornography, rape, or gang rape. Yeah, NCRB 2020 data has revealed that there was a 413% increase under the Cybercrimes Information Technology Act. And I am not even getting into the issues on online gaming addiction. We have not probed it, and unfortunately, we have not seen studies, but the reports from our partners on the ground of people who work directly with children is talking about a very worrying trend of addiction to very harmful, violent, abusive games. Yeah. And I mean, how can you blame young people, right? You give it to them in their hand, they're supposedly studying, there is very little supervision, and they are also unaware of the potential dangers and downsides of this technology. It is this exciting new thing. And, as far as the duty bearers go, the people around them, us adults, whose duty it was to provide better guidelines, adults themselves
Recording
are
in progress.
getting a meeting the internet for the first time and are equally hooked by games and pornography and some very frightening kind of things. And therefore, we really took up the current study which we are releasing today. We believe that there is a lack of robust body of evidence backed by data, on this issue of online child sexual exploitation. There are lack of detailed studies to document and analyze the on-ground pre- and post-COVID scenario. There are a lack of studies through a gender lens. Yeah. And I think there is a need. I mean, most importantly, I have felt that there is a need to understand and document the new technologies and the methods so that we can understand them better and hopefully be able to begin the debates and create the policies or help create the policies that will actually help with child online safety regulation in the Indian context. So if you look at this study, it aims that we look at voices that are surviving the experiences of child sexual abuse. We know and understand that abuse can have the the post traumatic effect of this is lifelong. Yeah. And this is when even people have help, and how much of that help is available. Secondly, we are hoping that the research will grab the attention of the legal community, of CSOs like yourselves, of other stakeholders engaged in child protection mechanisms, and actually anticipate a series of initiatives. Because what we need is fortification at the household and school level. And I also believe that what we need is tools to provide young people with the tools to both understand this medium better, as well to understand its dangers, and to understand, I mean, nobody is, I think it is too late to say, oh, we should not have technology. We have technology. Now we need to learn and help our young people to negotiate it safely. And we need to help parents and teachers to be able to also understand, as well as know the tools that are possible by which these conversations between young people, their caregivers, their teachers can start happening, rather than us get into, oh, take away the phone, stop the playing, limit it. That is not going to happen. Yeah, where people have got access to this amazing new world of information, of resources, because there is all those positives of technology as well, isn't there? Yeah. So we are also hoping that, last but not least, the Union Ministry of Electronic and Information Technology is currently looking at the new Digital India Bill, and we really do hope that the findings of the study will go a long way in strengthening the multi-sectoral discourse, because we have to create these robust frameworks, or else our reputation as being a safe space for traffickers, for creator of pornographic material will only multiply, and the safety of our children will be threatened in the most scary space of all, in their own homes, in our homes, in the spaces which should have been the most personal and the most safe. Yeah. So as we go forward today into the conversation, and I know all of you are interested in this, have begun to look at the issues, and I'm finding that this issue cuts across socio-economic categories, and of all of us adults who are involved in the issues of safety of children. So I do hope today is a fruitful discourse, and I wish Shubhendu and his team all the very best in releasing the study, and we actually solicit the help of the whole of civil society to try and spread the data, so that we have a solid first-hand data on what we can do, what we should do, as well as we are able to share the voices of children who are and should be our most important priority in our country. So thank you so very much. I will not take more time and hand this back to Jaya. I do hope that today will be the beginning of a series of conversations around this very, very serious and need to be studied, need to be, I think, detailed out issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pooja. I think you really said the truth out here,
that what we are looking is the tip of the iceberg, and it's really too late to say no to the change which is happening. So I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker for the event, Honorable Retired Justice Srimati Midra Mishra. Srimati Mridula Mishra has been the former judge of Patna High Court. She graduated with economic honors from Patna Women's College, Patna University, and completed her law from Patna University. In the year 1982, she joined the legal profession and started practicing as an advocate in the Patna High Court. She was appointed as government pleader of the state government, and in 2004 was elevated to the bench as the judge of the Patna High Court. After her retirement in 2011, she was appointed as the chairman of the Bihar Land Tribunal. She continued as the chairman for 5 years, and in March 2018, she has been appointed as acting vice chancellor of Chanakya Law University, Patna. So I request ma'am to please deliver the keynote address for the day.
Thank you, Jaya. A very good morning to all. Today, I must, without naming anyone, I welcome everyone on the dais and off the dais. Today, we all have assembled here to discuss a very important issue relating to the best asset we have got, that is our children. They are our future. They are the future citizen. And the issue which we are going to discuss, that relates to the threat we have started facing. As Pooja Amava just said, that before pandemic it was there, but after pandemic and this continuous lockdown, this problem became very, very serious. Because everything, the children earlier used to go to the school, they used to meet their friends, they used to meet their relatives, used to discuss so many things. But when this pandemic grappled, what happened? We all became confined to our houses. The children have no friends, no peer, no one. And this education which they were getting, that also became online. And I have seen that how online classes children are attending. In my house, I have seen that when the classes start, the children says this name, Mr. So-and-so, so-and-so, yes ma'am, and thereafter they just put it on the hold, and the child is here and there. But they created a habit in the children to be more and more online. This for gaming, for entertainment, for education, for everything, they started using the mobile phones, internet, and I can say that at present we all are living in an age which can be categorized as era of electronics. Internet has become day-to-day necessity for all, including children. Internet has become a powerful medium for children as it gives enormous opportunity of uninterrupted learning to them. Children can explore wide range of subjects of their interest, and they are accordingly more exposed to the electronic tools, as during COVID pandemic they were confined to their homes for long months of lockdown. In this situation, they started spending more and more time on their mobiles. This exposed them to online risks like habit of gaming, surfing internet, spending hours on mobile, and as a result being exposed to harmful contents. With the increasing popularity of social media platforms, utilization of education apps, and shift to online classes, children these days have much higher chance of being exposed to harmful content. Hence, the need to secure children's welfare and safety online is more urgent than ever. I have seen that nowadays you can see in any domestic, any house where the father and mother both are working. What happens if the children refuse to eat? They are given that they are this nursery rhymes and everything on YouTube. They are being shown, and accordingly, right from the age of 1 and a half years, they start using mobiles, and that habit continues. And when they are started going to school, or the now when the pandemic during pandemic they started their online classes, then going through for the academic purposes, they started surfing, and in this they started meeting such persons, such peoples whose this contact was very harmful for them. And that is the reason that we know that the cyberspace is a limitless space. They can go anywhere, they can search anything, they can find anything. And that is the reason that online this sexual abuse incidents increased. And this posed serious harm to children who experience psychological stress when they came in contact with such people who actually used to give them such messages which were harmful for them. They started first grooming them. This is the first phase. When they are contacted, they are given some messages, and when confidence, they gain their confidence, then they start giving such kind of messages which is very, very harmful, exchanging of photographs, and so many other things. So many the cyber crimes have been given, that how they are exploited, sexting, sextortism, and so many things. So all these things which we were never knowing, but now at this age I have come to know about all these things, because it was not present when we were there. But at this time, we are living in this age where everything has become very, very harmful, very dangerous. And pornography, child pornography has become so, this I can say that it is so spread out, that if it is not checked, then what will be the future of our future citizens? That is a big question, and that has to be addressed. And for addressing this situation, this kind of issue, a study has been made in collaboration with the CRI and Chanakya National Law University. And today that is going to be released, that study material is going to be released. And I have gone through this report with the study, and I have found that it has been done very properly, and all stakeholders, be the parents, the teachers, the neighbors, the panchayat raj people, the rural and the urban, what is the condition of the children living in the urban area, what is the situation of the student, this children who are living in the rural area, how they are being exposed, and what is the percentage. And we will find that the percentage is so high that in this kind of this online sexual abuse matters, India is at the top at present. Second is Pakistan, and third is Bangladesh. So what is the reason? Because there is no regulation. There is nothing to regulate this kind of activities. Everything is free. You can go anywhere. You can find anything. You can study anything. You can contact anyone. But there should be some check. There should be some regulation. There should be some legislation. There are legislations. POXO Act is there, the IT Act is there, and this regulation of 2021, that is there. But still, it has to be discussed that there are some more necessity to reform them. And for those reforms, the study has been done where we are lacking, what we can do, what should have been done and which is not being done. Because if any child comes in contact with such kind of abuse, this is not for a temporary period. This affects their mind, this adolescent period, and throughout the life, they are affected psychologically. And there are so many, this negative aspect comes to they possess with such kind of negative personality that is harmful not for the children only, that is harmful for the society, that is harmful for the country, that is harmful for the economy, for everything. And this is such a wide range of things. So many things has to be discussed, and the study which has been done, that is also going to be discussed today. We will know the views of so many other peoples also. But what I found, that I have seen in my family only, the gaming habits, what just now Pooja Mava was speaking about this, that study has not been done, but that is also a very big issue. This gaming habits among the children, while they actually used apps for the education purpose, but started gaming. And those gaming, on those games, serious steps were shown to the children, and they are just you can say that without thinking that what they are doing, they were just attracted towards all those things. And finally, what came? What was the result? The result is such that they stop this mixing with the family members. They think that if we will call them for anything, they start thinking that we are disturbing, they're taking away their time, that precious time which they can have used for the gaming purposes. So all these things are very serious matters, and these serious things can be, I am very happy that this CRY has given this opportunity to discuss all these matters. And what I find, that research are being done and their reports are being submitted, but it will be fruitful when this research reports are being considered by the policy makers and it is executed and implemented. That is very essential. And for these purposes, for the safety of the children, for the safety of online space of the children, there must be budgetary allocation by the government. If that is not done, then all what we are doing, that will not have any fruitful result, and that must be done. There is constant of time. Thank you very much that you have given this me opportunity.
Thank you so
One
much,
more thing
ma'am.
I just want to say.
Yeah, sure.
One more thing, that some recommendations have been made so far this study is concerned. I just wanted to read that, but the time is not there. You will come out to know this. These recommendations, they must be sent to the policy makers. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for this enlightening and inspiring address. And I think it was indeed a microcosm of the event's theme, and you've set the right tone for the day. And the next panel, I can tell you, ma'am, is about the study and about discussing the findings, and we'll definitely take it ahead as you have guided us. So our next speaker for the day is Professor Raka Arya, who is associated with the National Law Institute, University Bhopal, MP, and is also the member of the Law Commission of India. Professor Arya did her graduation from Aligarh Muslim University. She completed her PG from Agra University and did her MPhil and PhD from JNU. Professor Arya has around 22 years of experience in teaching. She is the chairperson of the Center for Gender and Health, Law, NLIU, and faculty in charge, the Gender Justice Cell. She has published extensively in several books and journals on many, many themes, be it human trafficking, be it gender equality, women's education, and many more. She is also a member of the Advisory Committee on Gender Equality and Women Empowerment, Department of Women and Child Development, Government of Madhya Pradesh. So, ma'am, we all know that since you are in the Law Commission, and the major role of the Law Commission is towards the reform of legal things or the laws. So the commission also works as an advisory to ministries and all. So looking at what we are discussing today, I would like if you can share your thoughts on the need for reform and revision of child protection laws for making them more stringent and apt, looking at the changing scenario of the types of crimes which we are looking at in the country today. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Jaya. Very good morning to all of you, the whole August gathering present in this house. As I was very unsure that what I'm going to speak upon, because things were not very clear, but I think now the things are quite clear in my mind that what I have to speak about. Because we are addressing a very important issue, as we know that the whole survival of the human race is depending upon their children. And we know that what we are giving them, because I think when I am going to speak on this, I will be taking some 4 actors into consideration, their role, which is very important, state, and again I am going to take another actor, which is child itself, then parents and civil society. All of us are quite important for each other because we do play a complementary role. So yes, of course, I am here, of course, in another capacity also to take care of this fact, because we know that rightly it has been pointed out by Pooja in the very beginning that technology is now the thing of our life. Now mobile is way of our life. Without mobile we can't survive. We feel very incomplete without mobile. But what I have observed from my own eyes, that the way of life which is changing now, in which the parents, when they both are working, or rather the upbringing of a child is very much mobile dependent. Even if the child is, because here we are discussing when child understands something about mobile, but I am discussing when child does not understand anything about mobile. The only thing that, the shine, the brightness that is coming out, and some movement on mobile that makes a child busy. So what the parents are doing, just to make child silent, or to be able to control the child, they are giving mobile to a very small child, a baby I should say. They are giving them, and what is happening from the very beginning, the addiction is developing. Because I have a very small granddaughter of 1 year. She will be fighting with us, to get the mobile. We can't talk over the mobile. The moment we do it, she will be, coming and asking for it. She does not understand anything about what mobile means. But she understands that this is a gadget and she is getting hooked to it. Now, in the very beginning, we are adopting to de-addiction thing. That we ourselves are not using mobile in front of her. So this is the impact of mobile on the minds of children. This we know. On the top of that, we know COVID came. And this has brought online interaction as a necessity, essential thing. Because I myself is a professor, also. We conducted online classes. And also for our students, because when law students have to conduct research, they are very much dependent on this internet thing. They are very much dependent on laptops and mobiles. Now, this is a kind of addiction. I can just tell you why I'm saying, because see, if 4 persons are sitting these days, I don't think that they are interacting with each other. Wherever you see them, generally they all are involved and engrossed in their own mobile. They don't want to talk to each other, even if they are sitting in a particular room together. Even in a family, when we are sitting on a dining table, generally people are busy with their mobiles. So mobile is not an addiction for children. It is an addiction in general. People don't want to interact with human now. They want to interact with gadget. So when we talk in terms of that, and when we are training them from the very beginning, it means what is happening? That we are preparing people with addiction who don't want to, have anything with that. Now, we do know that there are two sides. One, who is the user. Two, who is an abuser. And the thing is that on the other side of the screen, sitting one who wants to capitalize on this addiction. Now, the way they want to capitalize, many a time we can call it as an offense. Because it is beyond the lines and beyond the limits what society has set for human conduct and human interaction. Not misusing other. That is what we are saying. Now, when we are saying, as I said, once again, because we do know that in West, they conduct a lot of studies according to age-wise. The impact on children's mind as far as age groups are concerned, and accordingly, they release guidelines that what parents can do. One thing Madam has made a reference about. Generally, we start scolding the child. Don't use it, because we just want to give the gadget as long as we want to give it, and then we just want to remove it from their hand, which is next to impossible. Because something we are not studying, psychological impact of this mobile on their mind. We are just, involved in the kind of parenting we were subjected to, which was minus mobile. So we do not know how to parent a child with mobile. This is something, I think, a level of understanding that even parents have to develop. Because child does not understand that what is happening. On one hand, you are giving me mobile to attend a class and to complete my assignments, and next you are saying कि अब हो गया तुम्हारा ये mobile अब हमें दे दो. And then we ourselves are busy in looking into mobile. Now the child can't understand. जब आप बड़े होके कर रहे हो, मैं क्यों नहीं कर सकता? This is something you are creating a conflict and struggle in the mind of child. अब वो क्या कर रहा है? The child is becoming reactionary. And वो reaction में क्या करेगा? आप जब मोबाइल नहीं यूज कर रहे होंगे, when you are absent, the child will be using the mobile. And ये हमारे लिए most dangerous moment है. यही वो मोमेंट है जब वो किसी के ट्रैप में जा सकता है. So what we have to do, the kind of monitoring that needs to be done is, not only we can say that law is an answer to everything. The first step has to be taken by us. Law can be the last resort. I know that there is a huge gap as far as, because we are supposed to speak on POCSO also. Because POCSO is speaking about something which is not talking about this cyber experience. Because it is talking about touches and all those kind of things. When a children physically has been abused. They are not talking about this cyber abuse that is being, emerging as a new type of offense against children. So, of course, high time that it should be included in that. And a proper network must be developed, as Pooja has also made a reference about, identifying stakeholders and developing the whole framework for that. It is an important thing. But the thing is that prevention is better than cure. Law is the cure. But should we not preventing it? So perhaps I think from the very first stage, as I said, that when we say about child, if you remember, there was a program I would like to make a reference of, when for the first time a program came on television in which Amir Khan made a reference about, this particular bad touch and good touch. Somebody for the first time spoke like that in the public. That children must be told about that. We should not say that, इससे तुम्हारा कोई मतलब नहीं है. Parents themselves are, feeling uneasy to discuss something with children. Or second thing is also, if child is complaining, हम उसको dismiss कर देते हैं. See, one program is not going to resolve everything. We know it's a continuous process. We know still we are having the same attitude which was asked us to shun. We are still adopting that measure. हम child को चुप कर देना चाहते हैं. तो पहला चीज तो ये है कि हम उस बच्चे को we should prevent to become, a victim of that particular offense. Now, Madam has also made reference of apps. Yes, that is true. Apps are something like generally what children are doing, those who are having a level of understanding, they want to use game apps. They want to play on mobile. They'll say that we are doing nothing about, in this thing. हम बस खेलेंगे, you just give your mobile. We will try to see what kind of games you have in your mobile. Now, we do not know those who have prepared that app, what was their objective. we are also considering it to be a harmless, thing that, of course, it's a game app. There is something, like game. When mobile company has given on this thing, तो हम trust करते हैं. But we do not know ourselves that what is the content of that game. What that child is learning. Is it actually leading the child to experiment something? And this experiment, once again, is the second thing that is leading a child to, fall in the, we can say, in the trap of these people. Pornography has been used here, as a part of discussion. Yes, I think it is the biggest market as far as, and especially the child pornography is concerned. It is one of the biggest market. Consumer is sitting on the other side, as I said. Child doesn't know anything about it. So we know that, it is also an important area that needs to be taken care of. That, of course, there are rules and regulations about pornography and all that. But this new thing that is emerging, where child itself is a victim, then of course, and what is happening, there is only an interaction between the child and that particular abuser. By the way of this technology, they are getting into it. So this is something that becomes an important aspect to deal with as far as the idea of law is concerned, because we have to identify, as I say, this new area which is emerging, that how we have to define what will be the act, and how, of course, one thing that also I realized, that punishments are not so severe. As far as, because first of all, in cyber area, catching hold of the criminal is very difficult. Because there are a number of things which are involved. We are not so educated ourselves about that. As we know that what, is happening in this, because if you look at your own mobile, you will not be knowing about everything that you are using. There will be number of apps, there will be number of things. You do not know which app is keeping an eye on you. You are not even aware. Because you can understand that many a time there could be a kind of spy thing also, which you may not be aware. That if you keep that open, your things can be monitored. So we ourselves are, not so aware of this. So how can we expect it from child who is experimenting? Because what do? They just go on flicking. They just go on surfing. They just go on exploring what is there, because they are children. They are curious. They want to know more and more without knowing the harmful impact of it. So what happens? They go on exploring, and as I told you, on the other side, that person is sitting to trap them, and they may be trapped. And this is something that, what is important, that we have to, of course, identify all that. And generally, as I say, that we all have to play a particular role. It has to be a kind of collective effort. Law, as I told you, is the cure, not the prevention. So I think we should do that. And yes, of course, as I say, since it is a newly emerged area, we have to take into consideration. And yes, of course, the interventions will be made. The necessary interventions will be definitely made. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this insightful discussion. And I think you very rightly said that prevention is better than cure, and we all need to actually understand this aspect, because everyone sitting here are either parents or maybe guardians or sisters and brothers of children. So we all see whatever you have actually narrated here, and we need to be aware of this fact, whatever you have actually mentioned very rightly in your note. So thank you so much once again. And now I would like to welcome our next speaker, which is Srimati Nirja Shekhar, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Srimati Nirja Shekhar, an IS officer of 1993 batch, belongs to the Haryana cadre and is presently on central deputation and working in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Regulation of the broadcasting sector, support of the private FM radio and community radios, policies for the promotion of the AVGC sector and the public broadcaster Doordarshan and All India Radio are some of the areas she has handled in the ministry. She is dealing with policy formulation on issues related to broadcasting and media and entertainment sector, and matters relating to Prasar Bharati, National Film Development Corporation, film certification certification, preservation of filmic content in the country, production of films and documentaries in the government sector, and promotion of Indian films in the international market. So she has a deep interest in development administration. Srimati Shekhar has earlier worked in rural development sector, supported the strengthening of rural local bodies in the country, especially in tribal areas, supported the strengthening of and also promoted access to justice through the adoption of technologies. She has conducted the 2011 census for the state of Haryana. Starting her career in the state of Bihar, she has also worked in the government of Haryana on various portfolios in the Department of Education, Social Justice and Empowerment, New and Renewable Energy, General Administration, etc. So I would like to welcome ma'am to just tell us a few words on this topic.
Thank you, Jaya. And thank you for inviting me here for this panel discussion. My esteemed, the esteemed guests on the dais and dear friends. We'll be talking about online safety for children, and I'll be putting across what my Ministry of Information and Broadcasting has been doing in this area, and things that we would like to do in the future. On November 9, 2020, a very important development took place by a notification of the government. Films and audiovisual programs made available. There were two subjects that were added to the kitty of Ministry of Information and Broadcasting by allocation of subject. One, films and audiovisual programs made available by online content providers. And news and current affairs content on online platforms. So these were two subjects that were allotted to Ministry of Information and Broadcasting in 2020 as a response to the proliferation of digital media. And the ministry was asked to prepare regulations and guidelines to look into this sector. This is an area where which is under discussion. So the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India gives us data about the broadband subscribers in the country, which are 821 million as on December. As on October, the data was released in December. The total telephone subscribers in the country were 1,170 million, including both mobile and landline telephone. We also have one of the lowest data rates in the entire world. Our data rate, although we number 28 in the world, but our data rate is just rupees 50 per GB, which is one of the lowest in the world. And with high smartphone, you would remember that in the last few years, the smartphone prices had really fallen, and there was a proliferation of smartphones in the country and penetration into the rural areas. This position has stabilized recently because of some global problems and production of chipsets and high component prices. But because there was a huge proliferation of smartphones in all the parts of the country, including rural areas, our consumption of data has really gone very, very high. So this is the context in which we are working. At the same time, the consumption of kids' entertainment and education content has increased very high on linear television, on OTT platforms, and on digital platforms. So during COVID and later, the share of kids' content on all these platforms has grown, and overall viewership of kids' content has also gone high. Because we know that during COVID, Parents were forced to equip their children with smartphones and internet access for the purpose of education to begin with. And now it is a situation on which they cannot go back. Still, television and YouTube are the major providers of children's content. We've already talked about it earlier. Let me also share with you that there are dedicated channels for preschoolers. I got the shock of my life when we were interacting with some content producers, film producers, and content producers for YouTube, who said they were producing content for 6-month children and onwards. I couldn't believe 6 months, but it turns out to be true. So we have a YouTube channel called Choo Choo TV Nursery Rhymes, which has a viewership, a subscription of more than 6 crore. We have another, this is Indian, we have another one, Indian YouTube channel for children, Video Gyan, with more than 1 crore subscribers. Preschoolers, these children are not even going to school. They will be teaching about alphabet, phonetics, colors, simple things. There's another one, this is not Indian, but still, super simple songs, kids songs, 3.7 crore. So this is the scenario, this is the landscape today, this is what we are looking at. And of course, we also know that on the OTT platforms, almost all the OTT platforms now have dedicated kids channels. Netflix has a kids channel within its own subscription. Woot Kids, there is Hangama Kids on YouTube channel. So this is something which is here to stay. So technology is an idea whose time has come and we cannot turn back. So what we are left with is how to handle this, how to respond to the challenges of technology. So what, as a ministry, what we are doing to promote good content on all these platforms, we already have on Doordarshan, the government has decided to have 200 educational channels. One class, one channel, different subjects, 200 education channels for the children of this country. So this will be entirely educational content for children. We already have 51 educational Swayam Prabha channels on Doordarshan, which you can watch. We publish children's books, we produce children's films. You must be aware there are exclusive children's film festivals that we promote and hold. We promote good children films by giving them a national award for the best children's film, and of course through Doordarshan and All India Radio. Specifically, children's content is created and broadcast. But now I would like to tell you about the regulatory work that is done in the audiovisual sector and in the online sector by my ministry. First of all, we can look at the Cinematograph Act. Cinematograph Act is, I will be focusing on the regulation and how we are responding to the challenges of online safety and online content produced for children under these laws. So in the Cinematograph Act, which has been in force since 1952, films that are produced for public exhibition are certified. Public exhibition. Therefore, the films or content that you show on OTT platforms, which is not a public exhibition by law, that is not certified. So we have a different regulation for content on the digital media and the OTT platforms. But yes, films that are shown in the cinema halls, cinema screens, in public exhibitions, in festivals, those are all certified by the Film Certification Board. So the guiding principles for certification give one very important point, that a film should not be against decency or morality. This is where we draw the line, how children and women are to be depicted in the films. At the same time, we also, under the law, there is an age classification of content. So this is where we ensure that content that is suitable for children only is shown to the children. Similarly, in the Cable Television Regulation Network Regulation Act, there is a program code and there is an advertisement code. The program code very clearly says that there should be nothing obscene, no program should denigrate women or children. And it should not offend good taste and decency, and it should be suitable for unrestricted public exhibition. So recently, if you've been following news, you would have seen an advisory was issued by our ministry to all the television channels, all the private television channels, because while we were receiving complaints and while we were monitoring the content, we saw lot of coverage by news media where they were showing dead bodies of children being beaten up by the teacher, by parents, within a family or outside the family. Dead bodies. So children, where their even privacy was being breached. So these kind of very, very offensive videos were being shown on national news. And when news, you know how the news broadcast is these days, they would, if a dead body is being shown, which is a still, which is a photograph, they can extend that photograph for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. They can show one photograph for 5 minutes with impact going. So it was in very bad taste. So we issued an advisory that have some good taste and decency. This is how we work with the private media, and we try to reach out to them that they have to respond to and respect children and women and individuals. Now, the information technology rules that were issued in 2021. These were intermediary guidelines and digital media ethics code in 2021. This is something that will lead to digital safety of the children. These rules very clearly state that there has to be nothing obscene, pornographic, pedophilic, or harmful to children. There has to be the intermediary has to support the law enforcing agencies in case in going to the originator of such message or news, or identify wherever such abusive material has originated from. Similarly, so a regulatory mechanism has been set up where grievances are addressed, first at the level of the broadcaster and the OTT platform, then self-regulating bodies of the OTT platforms, then in the ministry we have been asked to issue advisories as and when required. And the rule that we came up with also asks the platforms to classify their content as per age groups. So age groups is up to 7 years, between 7 to 13 years, then 13 years, 16 years, and of course 18 years and above. And the classification of content, whether it is about alcohol or nudity or sex or drugs, so all this classification also has to be given by so this framework has been provided. So finally, I would say that while these things are in place, we now have to work on awareness. We have now to work on digital literacy. We have to work this, since this is an interdepartmental and intersectoral matter, where from law enforcement agencies, lawmaking agencies, advocacy groups, and WCD and awareness organizations and ministries like us, we all have to work together, because after all, these are the children who are going to be the future and are going to take us through the Amrit Kal when we want to be a developed country. So the future of our children, therefore, has to be very, very safe, and it's our responsibility together to look after them. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think there was a lot of information, and I think people have gathered a lot from what you have said. There is new information for all of us over here. And I'm very happy to say that our chief guest for the day, Shri Santosh Kumar Gangwarji, Member of Parliament, is here with us, and I would like to invite sir on stage. So, next speaker for the day is Dr. P.M. Nair. And to introduce Dr. Nair, I have very few words, and he has a very good history of working for children, for people who have been trafficked. But I'll give a short introduction that Dr. Nair has served IPS for around 35 years and has retired as a DGP. The President of India has awarded him with the Award for Meritorious Service and Distinguished Services. He graduated from FBI National Academy USA and National Defense College India. He served CBI for 10 years, successfully investigating transnational crimes, including the Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, the Bofors case, the Goa trafficking case, etc. Starting with personally rescuing 133 children as SP in 1982, he has by now rescued or facilitated the rescue of more than 50,000 trafficked victims. He served the UN as their international expert on human trafficking matters. He has personally trained more than 1 lakh stakeholders. AHTU is his contribution. He started with around 9 AHTUs in 2007, and today we are seeing that how AHTU is there throughout the country and what important role they are playing. I would like to mention one instance about Dr. Nair, that he is occupied with a lot of stuff and every day he's there in meetings and everything. But I remember there was a strategy building meeting of CRY and Dr. Nair was completely occupied. We called him that we want you to just give advice on certain things. So he said that I am completely occupied through the day, but I'll step out from the lunchtime, and that half an hour I'll be talking to you all. And that was so touching that he really, from that whole day schedule, he skipped his lunch, he came and talked to us, and that was really, really nice of it. I still remember that instance, so I thought I would say it here. So, sir, looking forward to hearing your views, and I think cybercrime has a history, and you being having a lot of knowledge on trafficking and all, so it will be really great if you can let us know about the trends, what you have seen, and how cybercrime is affecting children in today's world, and what can be done ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Namaste to all of you. Good morning to all of you. Namaste. Thank you for those kind words. I don't know, I really don't deserve all this. Honorable MP, Shri Gangwar Sahab, Honorable Justice Mishra, distinguished and honorable colleagues on the dais, Madam Nirja, Professor Raka, Ms. Jaya, Ms. Pooja, Mr. Krishna, and all these wonderful colleagues in CRI and CNLU. Very good work, amazing work, amazing work. Well, lot to be said. हमको सबको पता है कि प्रॉब्लम क्या है. तो I'll only touch upon two dimensions. One is the law enforcement response and the prevention part. Reporting is a main issue. कोई report करता ही नहीं है. You may be aware of the Cyberdome in Kerala. Cyberdome doing a great job. I sat with them for some time. So, daughter, 11-year-old, 12-year-old girl violated by mother's brother. Mother's brother. Now the mother says, "Mera bhai to hai, how can I go and say in the court of law, chhod do?" Now how do you convince this mother, educated mother, she is very qualified, she is working somewhere. Mother says, "Theek hai, ho gaya. Now how do I go and speak in the court of law against my brother?" No, this is a very important issue. Now I was telling Cyberdome, what we should do, we all go together, send a lady also to go and tell the mother that tomorrow the girl will be raped further, and when she comes with blood, what will you do? When that fellow comes and rapes you one day, he can do anything. Will you tolerate that? That's the message you have to give to them. People, no, we all silent spectators. Our silence is a problem. Our silence is a problem. Everywhere, all of us. If a child is violated somewhere, we just ignore. Most of us are in that frame of mind. Lack of awareness. Very well said among their distinguished speakers. And the children suffer in silence. POXO Act, online, offline, both. Children suffer in silence. Having investigated hundreds and thousands of crimes of children abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, labor abuse, etc., you get completely shattered. Last 2 months back, we rescued 11 children of Bihar in Chennai, since I live in Chennai. 11 boys, and none of the boys have nails on the fingers. You may ask why. They are made to work in a zeri cleaning factory using acid to clean the zeri, and the nails have been eaten away by the acid. You talk to a child, bete kahan ge ho? Bihar ke? Ji. ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है, पापा ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है, मम्मी ठीक है, आप ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है, आप परेशान हैं, हाँ. Everything he doesn't know what he's talking. They're completely shattered. You see that child, that day you will not be able to yet take a glass of water also. The amount of violation which takes place our children, and they suffer in silence. And we are also very quiet. When it comes to online issues, no peer group sharing. Otherwise, बच्चों को कुछ ना कुछ होता है स्कूल में, कॉलेज में, अपने दोस्तों के साथ तो शेयर करते ही हैं. No peer sharing now. No teacher counseling because of the COVID scenario and post-COVID. No parental discussion. Madam rightly explained all these points. And no community discussion. How many communities are aware? Communities also a very important role. Panchayats have got tremendous role in addressing these issues. Then the fear of the child, the blame, the stigma, the branding, and lack of legal awareness or lack of access to legal remedy. And who will be reporting to the law enforcement agency? If you come to the police station and say, मेरे पास crime report होता ही नहीं, मैं क्या करूं? You ask any police officer. I also was 35 years in the IPS. कहता है मेरे पास report नहीं हुआ तो कोई तो report करे, or I should come to know. Now, therefore, some sort of proactive approach on the law enforcement agency is required. The way I spoke about Cyberdome in Kerala, there are many state governments, many state agencies, Government of India especially. What I heard from Madam now, Nirja Madam, amazing. So we are so happy that we are in safe hands of the Government of India. It's wonderful work the government is doing. It's amazing work. But these are not known to many. Today I was also surprised. Wow, so much being done by Government of India. So this has to be propagated. This has to be made aware to the public. Police officers need skills. There are 11,000 cyber complaints in the adjoining state. The police commissioner says, मेरे पास 11,000 complaint है on cyber crimes. और मेरे पास 11 आदमी है investigation के लिए. मैं क्या करूं? Adjoining state. कहता है मैं क्या करूं? Now, the point is, you cannot create sub-inspector and inspector overnight. What should be done is, the government should consider authorizing person like this, Abhishek Singh here, from Cyber Peace Foundation. A brilliant boy, he knows what is cyber crime. He a sensitive person. We need a sensitive person and an intellectual person, both here. Like people like Cyber, Abhishek Singh should be hired by the Superintendent Police or the DCP. Beta aajao, investigate karo and make him additional investigating officer. Make a sort of contract. You shall not speak outside, etc., etc., and then be done with it. The work is done, and pay the money and move on. I think we should consider an out-of-the-box approach in law enforcement. I'm sure I will write to government agencies. I've been spelling them also. I'm sure this will come, sometime this will be done. Then presenting evidence in the court of law. The prosecutors need to be trained. The judiciary need to be trained. Otherwise, it won't reach the appropriate place. When you come to law enforcement, all the agencies have to be oriented. Capacity building has to be done. I'm sure the ministry will take some initiative in this direction because we have understood the problem so well. Last but not the least, when you come to the prevention part, we have to address demand and vulnerability. When there is so much of child pornography going around, what does it mean? Research was done a few months back, and then they found how many fellows are going to the internet to watch child pornography. It's very simple. When you go and do something, when you search for child pornography, even if you close a computer and destroy a computer, still you are leaving a trail there, internet trail. Following that trail, a study was done. How many people have gone to the internet looking for child pornography? Simple question. We found in a matter of 2 months' time, 5 million people are gone. 50 lakh people are gone into internet looking for child pornography. Now that means what? 1, child pornography is available. Number 2, child pornography is high demand. Number 3, they are making tons of money. 1 click means 1 rupee or 5 rupee, whatever it is. And the most important 4th point is child is under exploitation. We think child is safe at home, but is a child safe at home? How many children are safe at home? I may think I am working very well. I am a very honest person. My wife is working very well. We are very good, decent people. We don't fight with each other. We look after children very well. But who knows the child's cell phone has got all the problem? We don't communicate. The problem lies there. Even educated families. The elephant is in the room. Educated, not educated, every family is impacted now because of the cyber explosion, and the traffickers and abusers have gone to the net and fully entrenched. Therefore, to address the demand, we have to address the youth. I believe in addressing the youth first. They are ambassadors, many of them sitting here. If all of us, I keep arguing, when I since work on human trafficking, I go to colleges and set up anti-human trafficking clubs. 512 colleges have set up today. At each college, the youths have to stand up and say, I shall not watch child pornography. I will not allow my father to watch child pornography. I will not allow my chacha to watch child pornography. I will not allow my friend to watch child pornography. All of us stop watching child pornography. The child pornographers goes to close the shop. That's the only way. Demand control. If all of us take a decision that we shall not exploit children, we shall not allow any exploitation of children, we shall not be silent against exploitation of children, I think we can make a huge difference. This audience, the Cry initiative can take it forward. I think it's a crying need of the hour. We can take it forward, ladies and gentlemen. Then the vulnerability part. Parents have to be educated. As Madam rightly said, the problem with the parents, Professor Raka well explained the issue with the parents. Then the media, very important role. I'm very happy we have such a wonderful, committed and sensitive person as additional secretary here. Why not tell the media, अरे हफ्ते में एक दिन आप 1 घंटा दे दो ना बच्चों के लिए. All media. You make money, all your important time you don't want. When the children are free, maybe on a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning, when generally good kids are generally free, that time make a very important announcement. Every media will showcase some issue on children. What is cyber crime? How bullying is done? How nagging is done? How cyber grooming is done? Let the children be aware. Even if 50% of children in the country watch, that's a great message. So I would request that we might all the media persons once a week. We are not asking for much time. Once a week, if they can do it, that will be a great public awareness campaign. We have seen how AIDS control had made a huge impact. Everybody got scared. Arey, hum bhi mar jayenge. So that sort of fear has to come. Today, children are actually being violated. That create tremendous issues on the mind of the child. Therefore, this awareness has to be done. Internet safety protocols, I'm very happy Madam has brought in. We need to invent more. We need to make it more strengthened, streamlined, and make it aware. colleges curriculum, etc. We set up something. We set up something called Panchayat against human trafficking. पंचायत अगेंस्ट ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग, एम्पावर द पंचायत, टोल्ड देम पंचायत बॉस तुम्हारा भी काम है, ये तो आपका ही काम है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ द कंट्री, चीफ मिनिस्टर ऑफ द स्टेट, एंड यू आर द पंचायत प्रेसिडेंट, यू आर द सेम. We kick them out, we ignite their mind, and many panchayats are doing commendable work. So if the panchayat can be empowered on this issue, the vulnerability at the grassroots level, where the kids have poor families are there, it can make a huge impact. So anti-human trafficking club with the colleges, panchayat against human trafficking in the panchayats. Trafficking does not mean that only trafficking. It includes all aspects of child sexual abuse. It includes all aspects of cyber, offline and online issues. All have to be covered together. I am sure a holistic approach, if all of us get together, all of us are duty holders. We are not stakeholders. All of us are duty holders. We have a commitment to child. Constitution demands child shall remain free. We are all swearing by the Constitution. We, the people of India, gave to ourselves a Constitution. In that Constitution, we have said our children shall live free with dignity and life. That is the right to life, right to dignity of our children. We have to ensure. Let's work together and take it forward. Thank you. Namaste. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. And now I would like to invite the chief guest, Shri Santosh Kumar Gangwar ji, to say a few words. I'll just tell a bit about him, although he doesn't need any introduction, but I'm just trying to do some justice. Shri Santosh Kumar Gangwar ji is the 8th time MP from Bareilly Lok Sabha. He has held several important ministerial posts in the government of India during his career. He was elected first time in 1989 from Bareilly and represented the constituency for 6 consecutive terms till 2009. He had been a minister for textiles, finance, labor and employment, petroleum, water resources, parliamentary affairs, and many more. He is presently the chairperson of the Committee on Public Undertakings, and he is very well known for his connect and access for the people. So anybody, people know around UP and here in Delhi also that he is very accessible and people can go to him, ask him for things, and he is very open and very welcoming. So it's an honor for us, sir, that you are here with us. So we are waiting to listen to your words of wisdom. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
धन्यवाद. मंच पर उपस्थित जस्टिस मृदुला मिश्रा जी, श्रीमती नीरज शेखर जी अभी जिनको सुन रहे थे, और डॉक्टर PM नायर जी, उपस्थित यहाँ पर भाई और बहनों, वास्तव में हम बीते कुछ समय से सोच रहे थे कि जल्दी ही IPC और CRPC में परिवर्तन होना चाहिए, और जिस प्रकार से समाज में ये जो समस्या आ रही है और जिस ढंग से समाज आगे बढ़ रहा है, तो हम बहुत से मामले हम देखते हैं तो हम महसूस करते हैं कि IPC और CRPC में कुछ परिवर्तनों की आवश्यकता है. और ये मैं इसलिए भी कह रहा हूँ कि अगर हम शब्द का प्रयोग करें साइबर क्राइम, तो उस श्रेणी में आते हैं, और इसमें सबसे अधिक अगर फंसते हैं तो बच्चे पढ़ते हैं. बच्चे खास तौर से जो 15 से 25 साल के बीच के बच्चे होते हैं, वो भविष्य को नहीं देखते हैं और ये कल्पना भी नहीं करते हैं कि इसका क्या होगा. हम चूँकि लोकतंत्री व्यवस्था में हैं और लंबे समय से लोकसभा में हैं, अपने क्षेत्र में हमको अक्सर इन समस्याओं का सामना करना पड़ता है. कभी कोई टेलीफोन पर किसी को कुछ कह दे और वो रिकॉर्ड कर ले, या हम किसी बात को शेयर कर ले और फिर पता चले कि मुकदमा हो जाए. तो सामान्यतः अब ये संख्या हमें लगता है कि कम नहीं है, हम भी पार्लियामेंट के अंदर हमने पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स को कहा था कि भाई जिस ढंग की ये व्यवस्था चल रही है आईपीसी सीआरपीसी में, ये संशोधन होने चाहिए और इसमें कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। और ये अब जीवन में रोज़मर्रा की बातें समझ में आ रही हैं, और ख़ास तौर से इस टेक्नोलॉजी के प्रचलन में यूथ को भी समझ में आना चाहिए कि है क्या और इसका नुकसान या फ़ायदा क्या है। फ़ायदे तो बहुत समझ में आते हैं, पर नुकसान भी कम नहीं है, और कभी कभी लगता ही है कि नुकसान अनजाने में हो गया, कि हम समझते नहीं है कि इसका मतलब क्या है। और हम इत्तेफाक से उत्तर प्रदेश में उस जिले के निवासी हैं कि जहाँ पर अलग अलग धर्मों के जो लोग रहते हैं वो इन बातों के प्रति बहुत सेंसिटिव रहते हैं। अगर कोई किसी दूसरे धर्म के ऊपर टिप्पणी कर दे और इसको कोई शेयर कर ले तो अक्सर देखने को मिलता है कि मुकदमा हो जाता है। और फिर वो जब हमारे पास आते हैं तो हम कहते हैं कि भाई तुमने ये क्यों किया? बोले हमारे लड़के ने अनजाने में कर दिया। तो इसलिए लगातार हम इस कोशिश में रहे हैं, और पार्लियामेंट्री अफेयर्स मंत्री को कहा है कि भाई आईपीसी सीआरपीसी में संशोधन हो और इसमें एक सुधारात्मक कार्रवाई की नौबत आए, और ये बात हम सबको समझ में आए। और वास्तव में इस युग में इन बातों को समझना और उस पर कदम उठाना ये भी आवश्यकता की बात है कि हम कैसे इसको हम एक सही ढंग से आगे बढ़ाने का काम कर सकते हैं। और सोशल मीडिया और इसकी लोकप्रियता जिस ढंग से बढ़ रही है, क्योंकि हम राजनीतिक दल से वास्ता रखते हैं, तो हमको लगता है कि अब जो भी बताया जाता है उसमें बताया जाता है कि सोशल मीडिया में सक्रिय रहिए और आपकी लोकप्रियता बढ़े, आप संपर्क में रहिए। एकदम ज़्यादा लोगों से आप नहीं मिल सकते, पर ये ऐसा माध्यम है कि इस माध्यम के द्वारा आप ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों से मिल भी सकते हैं और अपनी बात बता भी सकते हैं। इसका एक पॉजिटिव लाभ हम बुलाएं, पर आवश्यकता ये है कि जो कम आयु के बच्चे हैं, ख़ास तौर से लड़कियां, अब अक्सर समस्याएं आती हैं। लोग कहते हैं कि साहब हमने दोस्ती कर ली। दोस्ती कैसे कर ली भाई? बोले खाली टेलीफोन के द्वारा बातचीत करके कर ली। तो कभी कभी इसके परिणाम बहुत ख़राब हो जाते हैं, ऐसा हम महसूस करते हैं। और हमारा मानना है कि इसमें छोटे बच्चे जल्दी फंस जाते हैं इसमें। आज आवश्यकता यह है कि इस बात को एक सही ढंग से लोगों के संज्ञान में लाया जाए और लोगों को बताया जाए कि इसके लाभ अगर हैं तो इसके नुकसान क्या क्या है, ये भी समझ में आना चाहिए। और आईपीसी सीआरपीसी में एक आवश्यक इस संदर्भ में संशोधन और इन अपराधों को रोकने के लिए, जैसा मैंने कहा, कानून चाहिए और प्रभावी तरीके से इसको लागू किया जाए। ये समाज के एक अच्छे तबके के लोगों को ज़रूरत है कि छोटे बच्चों को ये समझाने का काम करें, और आज ये आवश्यकता भी है कि हम इस बात को महसूस करें। अब मैं बधाई दूंगा कि क्राई ने इस ओर चिंता की, और आज आवश्यकता है इसकी समझ आए परिवार में। और अगर हम अपने बच्चों को इसके बारे में नहीं बता पाए तो फिर जो कमी होगी उसका हम कोई भरपाई नहीं कर पाएंगे। हम चूँकि सामान्य जीवन में जो बातें सुनते हैं तो कभी कभी ऐसा हो जाता है, खाली इन बातों के माध्यम से शादियां तक हो जाती हैं। बाद में हम पूछते हैं कि तुमने शादी क्यों की, कैसी की, क्यों की? जब वो ये तरीका बताते हैं कि हमने आपने उसे देखा भी नहीं, जाना भी नहीं, तो उसका कोई जवाब नहीं मिलता है। ये एक ऐसा हिस्सा है कि वास्तव में हम अगर ऑनलाइन ऑफलाइन संचार के बीच की बातें इसको अगर दें तो हमें लगेगा कि ये ऐसा बड़ा सब्जेक्ट होता जा रहा है जिसको समझना और समझाना, यहाँ पर जो सज्जन लोग बैठे हैं, मेरा सबसे आग्रह है कि समाज के जागरूक लोगों को इस बातों को बताना चाहिए कि इसके लाभ अगर हैं तो हानि भी हैं, और हानि को अगर हमने नहीं समझा और हानि के बारे में हमने विचार नहीं किया तो जो नुकसान होगा, नौजवान पीढ़ी इसमें जिस ढंग से फंसती है उसका कोई आगे सुधार समझ में नहीं आता है। तो मैं ये मुद्दा इस सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से कहना चाहूँगा कि सारे प्लेटफॉर्म के माध्यम से लोगों की समझ और जानकारी में बातें आएँ और उनको समझ में ये आए कि भाई ये है क्या और इसका फ्यूचर क्या है और इसके लाभ और हानि क्या है। तो मैं कोई बहुत सारी बात कहने आपके बीच में खड़ा नहीं हुआ हूँ। मैं केवल जैसे मेरी जानकारी में आया तो मैंने कहा कि पहले तो मैंने कहा था कि मैं शायद नहीं होऊंगा, पर मैं अभी दोपहर के बाद जाऊंगा। तो मैंने कहा कि CRI को हम क्राई को बधाई देंगे कि उन्होंने एक बहुत ही सही समय पर सही विषय को उठाने का काम करा है और ख़ास तौर से नई उम्र के नौजवान भाई बहनों को इसको समझाना और इसके हिसाब से देखना कि अब इसका विस्तार कितना हो रहा है। हम इसका अंदाज़ा नहीं लगा सकते हैं, पर लगता है कि हम ग्रामीण क्षेत्र भी जाते हैं, वहाँ पर भी नई आयु के जो बच्चे हैं उनके पास वे मोबाइल हैं जिसमें सब कुछ है, और फिर वो ये भी नहीं देखते हैं कि इसका लाभ और हानि क्या होगा। अब हम घर वालों से कहते हैं कि आपको मालूम है कि आपकी बच्ची के पास ये मोबाइल है, ये कितने रुपए का है? वो बच्चे ने कहा चाहिए लेंगे, ले लिया। और मैंने कहा इसका क्या उपयोग करता है, कभी पूछा आपने? हम गांव में अक्सर जाना होता रहता है, तो जब हम बात करते हैं तो घर वालों को ये पता नहीं, और कभी कभी ऐसी शिकायतें मिलने को मिल जाती है कि हम इसके आगे कोई टिप्पणी नहीं कर सकते। अभी एक सज्जन मेरे पास आए कि साहब हमारे बच्चों को आप समझाइए क्या हुआ। बोलो उसको किसी ने मोबाइल भेंट कर दिया। मैंने कहा मोबाइल? तो अब ज़्यादा बात करें तो समझ में आया कि घर वाले ये भी नहीं देखते हैं कि हमारे बच्चे को कौन क्या दे रहा है और किस लिए दे रहा है। बोले अच्छे काम के लिए दिया था। मैंने कहा इसमें अच्छे और ख़राब सारी बातें मोबाइल में छिपी रहती है, और इसको अगर हमने ध्यान नहीं करा, बच्चे की एक्टिविटी की ओर ध्यान नहीं किया, बच्चा कहाँ जाता है, किस ढंग से इस्तेमाल करता है। अब कोई कल ही मुझे एक बालक कह रहा था कि साहब इस मोबाइल में कोई ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, सब कुछ है। तो अब हमने कहा कि भाई सब कुछ है वो तो समझ में आता है, पर ज़्यादा हमने बहस नहीं की। पर मैं आज आपके बीच में इसीलिए आया हूँ कि आपको बधाई देने, धन्यवाद देने कि इसमें जागरूकता की आवश्यकता है। एक 40 वर्ष से ऊपर की आयु के लोगों को भी इसके बारे में समझ में आना चाहिए कि हम अगर अपने छोटे बच्चे को मोबाइल दिलवा रहे हैं, दे रहे हैं, तो वो उसका क्या उपयोग करता है, कैसे उपयोग करता है, और वास्तव में अगर दुरुपयोग हो रहा है तो हमारी जिम्मेदारी है कि हम उसमें रोकथाम करने का काम करें, ताकि हमारे बच्चों को एक बेहतर दिशा मिल सके और उसका भविष्य एक अच्छा बन सके, और इसकी आवश्यकता भी है। तो मैं अधिक न बोलते हुए क्राई को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ कि महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर चर्चा रखी। और ये चर्चा खाली हम इस कमरे में बैठकर, इस कैंपस में बैठकर चर्चा कर लें, आज इसकी आवश्यकता नहीं है। हमारे देश में 6 लाख से अधिक गांव हैं, और अगर हमने इसको, और किसी भी गांव में आप चले जाइए, जैसा मैंने अभी कहा कि मैंने ऐसे ऐसे मोबाइल गांव में बच्चों के पास देखे हैं जो हम पूछते हैं कि तुमको क्यों मिला, कैसे मिला, कहाँ से लाए। तो आज ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में भी लोगों को शिक्षा देने की ज़रूरत है कि ये मोबाइल है तो इसका उपयोग क्या हो रहा है, दुरुपयोग तो नहीं हो रहा है। अगर दुरुपयोग हो रहा है तो उसका जो नुकसान है उसकी कोई भरपाई नहीं है। हमें इसको सोचना चाहिए, समझना चाहिए, उसके हिसाब से काम करना चाहिए। तो आज आवश्यकता ये है कि सोशल मीडिया इसके विस्तार को देखते हुए ये ज़रूरी हो गया है कि इसे रेगुलेट किया जाए। और केंद्र सरकार, जैसा मैंने अभी कहा कि मेरा केंद्रीय संसदीय कार्य मंत्री से बात हुई है कि इसकी एक प्रक्रिया शुरू हो, क्योंकि जैसा मैंने कहा CRPC IPC में अभी इस साइबर क्राइम को जोड़ने का काम नहीं हो पाया है। अब शायद इस लोकसभा के सत्र में ये इसका प्रस्तुत करने की बात हो। आज इसकी आवश्यकता है और सबको इसके अच्छे और ख़राब बातों की जानकारी मिलनी चाहिए, ख़ास तौर से नौजवान पीढ़ी को, कि नौजवान कहीं इसके चंगुल में या चक्कर में आकर फंस तो नहीं रहे। क्योंकि कभी कभी लोग इस ढंग की बातें करते हैं जो कल्पना से आगे की बात है। तो मैं अधिक न बोलते हुए ख़ास तौर से एक बार फिर से क्राई को धन्यवाद दूंगा कि उन्होंने महत्वपूर्ण विषय की चिंता की, क्योंकि अब IPC CRPC में भी परिवर्तन हो और लोगों को इसके बारे में सही जानकारी मिले कि हम इसका उपयोग और दुरुपयोग क्या हो सकते हैं। क्योंकि जिस प्रकार से लोग मोबाइल फ़ोन के साथ काम करते हैं, वो कहते हैं इसके अंदर सब कुछ है, हम जब पेमेंट करना है बोल वो भी इससे है, और कोई बात करनी वो भी इससे है, सब कुछ इसके अंदर ही है। पर ये समझ में आना चाहिए ये सब काम अच्छे के लिए हो रहे हैं, इसलिए हो रहे हैं कि जो भी हमारी पीढ़ी है वो इसको एक सही ढंग से अपने इस्तेमाल कर सके, अपने उपयोग में ला सके। ऐसा ना हो कि इसका दुरुपयोग हो और हम गलती से इसमें कहीं फंस जाएं, और अगर फंस गए तो फिर इससे निकलने का रास्ता समझ में अभी नहीं आ रहा है कि कैसे इससे आप आउट हो पाएंगे। क्योंकि शुरुआत में मैं एक समिति में था तो कहा कि ये मोबाइल ऐसी चीज़ है, इसके अंदर अगर शुरू में भी आपने कोई बात की होगी निश्चित रूप से रिकॉर्ड होगी, उसे आप ख़त्म नहीं कर सकते। ये बात समझ में आती है। तो यहाँ पर आप सब लोग जो मौजूद हैं, जिम्मेदार जागरूक लोग हैं, हमारी आप सबकी जिम्मेदारी है कि हम इन बातों को आम आदमी तक पहुँचाने का काम करें, ख़ास तौर से अपने नौजवान भाई बहनों को कि जो अब अपने जीवन की दिशा में आगे बढ़ने का काम कर रहे हैं, और कहीं जरा सी भी अगर गलती हो गई तो इसकी कोई माफ़ी नहीं है। क्योंकि अब ये तो जैसा मैंने कहा आईपीसी सीआरपीसी में संशोधन, ये तो मैं सबूत के साथ सारा काम होता है, इसमें कोई गवाह की ज़रूरत नहीं होती है। इसमें हमने जो काम कर दिया वो तो लिखा पढ़ी में आ गया और हम उसके जिम्मेदार हैं, और हमें इसको समझ में आना चाहिए और कैसे हम इसमें सुधार करें। तो ये सामाजिक संगठनों का काम है कि वो लोगों के बीच में इसकी बात को ले जाने का काम करें, कैसे हम इसमें सुधार करें और कैसे ये गलती हमारी नौजवान पीढ़ी न करे। नौजवान पीढ़ी को इन सब बातों को समझ में आना चाहिए, ये सोचना चाहिए कि वास्तव में किस चीज़ का क्या फ़ायदा है और किस हिसाब से हमको आगे चलना चाहिए। तो मैं अधिक न बोलते हुए क्राई को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद दूंगा कि ऐसा विषय उठाया है आज जिसकी बहुत आवश्यकता है। और अब ये शहर में नहीं, देहात में भी, क्योंकि जैसा मैंने कहा कि मैंने ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में भी बच्चों के पास अभी टेलीफोन देखे हैं कि जब हम उनसे कहते हैं ये टेलीफोन आपने क्यों लिया, किसने दिया, चुप हो जाते हैं, जवाब नहीं देते हैं। हमने कहा आपने, तुम्हारे घर वालों को मालूम है कि तुम्हारे पास ये मोबाइल है जो 50,000 रुपये से कम का नहीं है? वो नहीं बताते हैं। कभी कभी लगता है कि उनको कोई भेंट कर किया है। ये बात हम सबकी समझ में आना चाहिए, और समाज में जो परिवर्तन हो रहा है इस परिवर्तन को सही दिशा मिले, ये हम और आप सबकी जिम्मेदारी है कि हम इसके अच्छे और बुरी बातों को सबके बीच में ला सकें, सबको एहसास करा सकें, और आज इसको एक अच्छे ढंग से आगे बढ़ाने की आवश्यकता है। तो मैं आपका बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करते हुए कि आपने मुझे यहाँ पर बुलाया, ये चर्चा की। पर ये बात सही है कि इस चर्चा को समझना और आगे ले जाने की आवश्यकता है। तो लोकसभा में अगर कोई आपके सुझाव हों, क्योंकि निश्चित रूप से आईपीसी सीआरपीसी में संशोधन होगा, क्योंकि वास्तव में अब इस व्यवस्था में जो परिवर्तन हो रहा है अभी तक के उसमें ये सब नहीं था, इसको जोड़ा जाए और इसको एक सही स्वरूप में लिया जाए। और वास्तव में अब आने वाले समय में साइबर क्राइम ऐसा होता जा रहा है कि जो इतना भी बोला जाए, क्योंकि मुझे ध्यान है जैसा मैंने शुरू में कहा कि हमारे एक लड़के से मैंने कहा कि भाई तुमने अपने आप को शेयर क्यों कर लिया इसके साथ? बोले साहब वैसे ही कर लिया। अब उस पर मुकदमा हो गया, और हमने फिर समझाया पुलिस वालों को कि भाई ये तो 15-20 साल का लड़का है, इसकी कोई गलती नहीं है। तो वो हंसे, बोले कि अभी तो हमारी भी समझ में आ रहा है। हमने कहा इसे ख़त्म करो, इसके ऊपर मुकदमा क्यों कायम हो गया? ये बातें ऐसी हैं कि ये समाज में आने के बाद बातें समझ में आती हैं। तो मैं अधिक न बोलते हुए खासतौर से आयोजकों को बधाई धन्यवाद दूंगा। ये महत्वपूर्ण विषय लिया है, और निश्चित रूप से आईपीसी सीआरपीसी में संशोधन भी होगा। पर आज ज़रूरत है कि वो संशोधन अलग बात है कि हम अपनी नौजवान पीढ़ी को समझा सके कि हमें क्या करना है, क्या नहीं करना है, किसके साथ जुड़ना है, कहाँ नहीं जुड़ना है, और इसके नुकसान क्या हैं, ये भी समझ में आना चाहिए। फ़ायदे तो बहुत सारे लोग बता देंगे, पर नुकसान भी कम नहीं है, हम सबको समझ में आना चाहिए। तो मैं अधिक न बोलते हुए आप सब जो यहाँ पर उपस्थित हुए सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हुए अपनी बात को समाप्त करता हूँ। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
सर आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने इतनी अच्छे तरीके से हमको, एक तो ये भी आपकी जो बात थी कि अगर हम कुछ रिकमेंडेशंस लोकसभा में ले जाना चाहें तो आप उसके लिए ओपन हैं, ये हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा जो है आपकी तरफ से एक सांत्वना है, और दूसरा जो है जो आपने CRPC और IPC में संशोधन की बात कही, वो भी वाकई में आज बहुत ज़रूरत है उस बात की. और just taking forward from here, I think sitting with so many dignitaries and such learned panel is really an honor, and just want to sum up a few things for the audience from this panel discussion. So the important ones which have come up are that I think this whatever we are seeing in terms of increase in the cyberspace, we cannot really go back. This is what it is, and we have to live with this as a reality. So we have to look into things that can be actually seen as preventive spaces. We have to look into arenas where we can actually spread awareness on issues more. So this is what I've been hearing from the panel again and again. And some things which I want to share here again are that it's not only the children whom we have to look into, it's also about parents, it's about community, and we as individuals who have to actually take the ownership for reducing the cyber crimes, for taking this agenda and making the spaces more safe for our children. Because India has ratified the UNCRC, as we all know, and it has also acceded to the second optional protocol of the CRC, which had provisions for online and offline offences against children. But yet, after doing so also, we are seeing that online problems have really increased, and especially after COVID and the long lockdowns. So the children are getting exposed to harmful content, and this has really increased many folds in the past few years. So there is a lot of need for prevention, and many of our guest panelists have said, and I think Dr. Raka said very aptly, that prevention is better than cure. And when I was listening to Mridula ma'am, she was also saying that the chance of getting exposed to harmful content has really it has really increased manifold, and the children are getting into the trap now very easily. Hearing to our panelist Nirja ji, I think we got so many new insights, and we really could hear so many new things what is happening, and especially the corporates, how they are dealing with the online content for children as young as 6 months, and how our ministry is really moving forward to making this space more protective for our children. There is content classification framework is there, which I think many of us don't know, but we have to really work on awareness, and this I've been hearing from all of us sitting here. And there are ways and means of awareness need to be thought of and put into place. This is a key takeaway which I really thought is important. Then I think empowering our youths is one thing which has come up, and also the demand control aspect which PM Nair sir has put forth, that everyone needs to pledge that we will not be watching any child pornographic content, or not sharing it, or maybe not producing it. And this is the responsibility of each of us to actually suppress the demand, so that this entire thing can be made more safe for children. So just to before closing this panel, there's one thing which is coming into my mind, and which I just wrote, that is a quote of Nelson Mandela, and this is that there can be no keener revolution of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. If we are to introspect, there is much in our souls that needs attention. So I think this is how I've tried to just pull in some important points from our panelists. And now it's the time to actually release the study for which we are here. So I would request Aditi to, if she can bring the copies so that our esteemed panelists can actually release the study for us.
Yes.
So I'll invite everyone for tea now. So there's a short break, so we'll meet at the tea. So we'll gather here in another 15 minutes. So that is at 12:10 by the clock of the hall.
Welcome back to the second panel for the event, wherein we would be talking about the findings of the research study. To invite the panelist, may I kindly request, to invite the panelist and the chair for the panel, may I kindly request Ms. Debarati Dhar to come on stage. Debarati is working as a manager in the media advocacy team of CRY. Debarati, over to you.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Thank you, Aditi. And this second session on discussion and report findings will be chaired by Ms. Soha Moitra, and the session has 6 panelists. It is my honor to introduce the panelists to you all as I invite them to come on stage. The chair, Ms. Soha Moitra, is a graduate in psychology from Delhi University and a postgraduate in social work from MS University, Vadodara. She has a vast experience of working in different sectors, ranging from women's education to child rights. Growing up in a family of renowned academics, she made an independent choice of working as a development sector practitioner, which would leverage her strong theoretical grounding and help bring about positive change in the lives of underprivileged people. Soha started her professional career with Nirantar, an NGO working on gender issues. Working with Nirantar triggered the realization that gendered socialization norms, which start right from childhood, need to be broken to bring about lasting change. Since then, Soha has spearheaded the initiative of gender-based programming and the inclusion of gender sensitization as part of a programmatic approach with NGO partners at the grassroots level. Within CRY, Soha also expanded the outreach by promoting engagement with children in schools and youth in colleges. Currently, Soha heads the Northern Region and Development Support at CRY and is a part of the Managing Committee of CRY. She chairs the Sexual Harassment Committee as well for the Northern Region at CRY. I invite you, Soha. Next, we have Ms. Ragini Pant, who will be presenting the report findings. Ms. Ragini Pant is a senior manager at the Policy, Research and Advocacy function of Child Rights NU. She has a vast experience in research and development sector. I welcome you, Ragini. We also have a team from Chanakya National Law University, Patna. I'll invite the team members one by one. The first member is Dr. P.P. Rao, who is a faculty of international law, having experience of 20 years in teaching and is presently associated with the CNLU Patna as an associate professor. He completed his PhD in seed law entitled Law and Policy Seeds in India, a critical study, and has expertise in the fields of private international law, international trade law, public international law, and human rights law. Before taking up teaching as a career, Dr. Rao worked as an editorial member of Indian Express Group of Publications. I welcome you, sir. Our next team member from CNLU is Ms. Sugandha Sinha, who is currently working as an assistant professor of law. She completed her LLM from University College London. She has taught public international law, international humanitarian law, refugee law, human rights, and intellectual property rights, among others. Ms. Sinha has been working and researching in the area of child rights and has been involved in research, coordination, and training of various stakeholders in the area of women rights, child rights, and intellectual property law. I welcome you, ma'am. Our next team member is Kumar Gaurav, who is an assistant professor of law at Chanakya National Law University, Patna. He has done his LLB and LLM from Banaras Hindu University. He is pursuing his PhD on data protection, contemporary issues and challenges. He has more than 9 years of teaching experience, and his interest areas are cyber laws, health laws, and criminology, among others. He has published several articles and presented in various national seminars as a speaker and resource person. I welcome you, sir. Our next panelist is Advocate Anant Kumar Asthana, who is a child rights lawyer, practitioner, scholar, and technical trainer on various child protection laws and policies. He has a specialization in child rights law, human rights law, public interest law, and constitutional and criminal law. Advocate Asthana is holding a number of prestigious positions as the advisor of Delhi State Legal Services Authority on victim compensation to children and rejuvenation of legal aid to children. And he is also a member of Core Group on Children, National Human Rights Commission of India, and member in Delhi High Court, among others. Advocate Asthana has published several chapters and papers in books and reputed journals. I welcome you, sir. Our next panelist is Shri Shubhimal Bhattacharjee, who is a policy advisor on cyber and technology issues and a documentary filmmaker and columnist. He has been the country head of the US Defense and Security Corporation General Dynamics in India. He has been an expert for UN panels and also a member of the Research Advisory Network under the Global Commission on Internet Governance. Shri Bhattacharjee is a speaker, columnist, and television commentator on cybersecurity, national security, Northeast India issues, and the creative strengths of the Northeast. He is a regular panelist for DD News, DD India, and Sansad TV with more than 300 session participants. He is a regular op-ed writer for the Indian Express, Economic Times, and The Quint, besides vernacular diaries in Bengali and Assamese. I request you, sir, on the stage. Now I request Ms. Soha to take this session forward. Over to you. I request Soha to facilitate our guest with the flower bouquets.
Something for your desk.
Oh, so nice.
Thank you, Soha. Over to you now.
Thank you, Devrati. It's a tough task to do a pre-lunch and a post-lunch session. I've always realized this when hunger pangs are calling you and the mind is drifting. So let's start. I think the criticality of this issue is going to get the focus back because to start with, I must acknowledge the fact that all the stakeholders in this room and outside this room have really worked very hard on relentlessly talking on child rights and protection issues, and also for the fact that today we are discussing the issue of POXO and the online sexual abuse issue is because of this group who has relentlessly worked to get the act per se in place, and now it's an opportune time for us to discuss, deliberate on how it has been in terms of implementation of POCSO, what all has changed around it, because we have just finished a decade of POCSO implementation. So I think this study also comes at the right time for us to kind of discuss the same. All of us, I think, we have seen the way COVID took us, and it was worse for our children because they were opened up in a world which was absolutely out of control for them, and they were in a space where there was no control in terms of the safety net, like what we get otherwise in terms of physical lives. We get safety net through our neighborhood, through our families, through our parents, teachers, peers. All of them, because of the school, got suspended. The children were not meeting their friends. They went into a world which was virtual without any safety touch points, and that was a world which for them, for momentary space, they felt it was full of opportunities and full of a lot of new things, and they didn't we all, why would we say children, we all didn't realize that it has come with so many risks and dangers along with it. And we have seen that in the amount of reports also on online sexual abuse and neglect and exploitation in the media, and that they are evident about, like the number of media stories which we have seen in last 3 to 4 years is clearly showing that whole scenario. I think I should give you a sense of some statistics just to give the gravity of the issue. Is the Interpol estimated a staggering 2.4 million cases of online child sexual abuse being reported from India in 2017, with 80% of these children being girls under the age of 14. India stands right on top of the list with 11.7% of the total reports, or at 19.87 lakhs reports in a global compilation of reports of child sexual abuse material found online. So here is the gravity of the problem. Numbers are saying the entire story. We were working on the field during COVID, and we realized suddenly our children are also getting very caught up with the entire online space, and we really don't know what to do and how to go about it. And then we thought of the study. We thought it's a good time to understand this whole issue in more depth. And when we were starting to explore whether the study is relevant or not, or whether the study is actually, we should not do and repeat studies just for the sake of it, we realized that actually there is no scientific or a structured study which absolutely focuses on the online child's exploitation and abuse issue. And more so, there is no study in the context of a developing or a underdeveloped nation. All of these studies are in a milieu which is very developed and unrelatable in terms of our milieu. The other one, which is a huge gap, is the gender perspective. The entire gender perspective in relation to the online sexual abuse and exploitation is absolutely missing. So we've tried to get that in also in the study. And lastly, I think no study would love if anyone actually comes across. In our knowledge, no study we have seen which is given or which has explored so many newer technologies which have come our way in the space of online technology and abuse. So I think that's the backdrop against which this is the study today we are going to discuss, and this session is going to be absolutely on the study and the findings. So let me just take you through the flow of the study. First, Ragini, my colleague from CRI, will take us through the findings, and then the team from CNLU, Professor Rao, Snigdha, and mm, Mr. Kumar Gaurav. They are going to take us through more elaborate discussions on the findings per se. And then Advocate Anant, who is our CRY friend and a learned person in this topic in the sector, is going to throw some light on the issue per se. And then lastly, Mr. Subimal Bhattacharji, and a cyber expert, is going to throw light on the entire scenario on how the cyberspace is impacting our children. Yeah, so let's start. Ragini, over to you.
Thank you, Soha. Thank you for setting the context of the study so lucidly, and also bringing out the background to the whole idea of how we conceptualize the study in the first half. Because I remember we were trying to identify gaps, and we were talking about it, and there were a lot of discussion. And this is when we realized that this is something that needs attention, and this is something that urgently needs attention. So I think this is how, and because So has already talked about the background to how we have initiated it, I would now talk about how important this study is. I mean, this is a study. We've all gone through newspaper reports and other media reportage as to the cases of child sexual abuse and exploitation. But then we never had scientific data as to what is the prevailing aspects of this of the whole idea of online child sexual abuse and exploitation, and to also understand the gravity of the situation, because we already know that there is an impending bill, and that bill, the Digital India bill, that is with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. And we as CRY members would like to push this agenda forward, because as ma'am has already mentioned in her first half, that we have come out with a set of recommendations that we would really like to focus on these. And we are very glad to actually have not just conceptualized, but have executed it so brilliantly along with Chanakya National Law University, our collaborators for the study. And we are happy to have people here, but we are concerned. As an organization, we are concerned as to learn about, of course, through our findings and study, we are concerned to learn about the gravity of the situation, the instances of, the cases that we have come out with, also the key critical difference between the rural and the urban aspect that of course, PM Nair has already mentioned it very brilliantly in his speech, and that is something which is being corroborated through our findings, that yes, increasingly we see that as rural India is getting high on subscription, they're also getting high on risk. They're also getting high on prevailing stigma around the issue. And not just, we are talking about risk, but there's a lot of stigma that our children are today facing. And I think this is important that our study findings are being discussed, disseminated, because we are trying to open a window for all of us together. So I think we can now talk about the findings, should we? So in order to understand, because it was our very first attempt in India, and CRY has been very fortunate and feels responsible towards this, we try to understand what is the prevalence, to scientifically talk about what is the prevalence of online child sexual exploitation and abuse. We found out from our statutory stakeholders who are well integrated into the child protection regime, that child welfare police officers, special juvenile police unit, child welfare committee members, principal magistrate, juvenile justice board, special public prosecutors, and legal aid lawyers. So these are some of our relevant stakeholders who we try to reach out through our study, try to understand what are the nuances that are coming from ground, and of course the experts. So all of them have identified various categories of offense to be occurring in India. To read in the newspaper, but to actually have a scientific seal to it is very important for us to start our efforts in any direction, I believe. So online grooming, cyber sexual harassment, sexting was cited the most, followed by cyber stalking, child sexual exploitation and abuse material, revenge porn, on-demand online live streaming, CSEA, use of information communication technology for trafficking, commercial sexual exploitation of children in India. 84% of principal magistrates have expressed that they have referred cases of child in conflict with law who are also child in need of care and protection to CWC depending on the decisions of the JJB or for counseling and rehabilitation needs of the child. 70% of the respondents have registered FIR in cases against children in conflict with law who were alleged to have committed OCSCA, which is currently under investigation or sub judice. Further, judicial officials of children's court or special courts have specified cyberbullying, CSEM, followed by online child sexual abuse and online grooming as the nature of offences emerging before them. Cyber experts have quantified the details on proportions of such cases forwarded before them, in which, again, online grooming, cyber stalking, cyber sexual harassment, sexting, live streaming of child sexual exploitation and abuse featured as the most recurring offences. 18.7% of CWC members shared that such cases have emerged before them involving CSEA of children in institutions, homes, shelters where children are provided protection. Further added that they have received complaints of CSEA by heads, workers, officers or persons in charge of homes, institutions and shelters. Then talking about the OCSE offences reported by children or students to their parents and teachers. Among parents, online grooming, solicitation was reported most, followed by reduced responses for online bullying and fewer for online sexual harassment. Mostly adolescent girl followed by adolescent boys with 40% and 33% victimization share respectively. Pre-adolescent girls and boys also reported 17% and 10% victimization share respectively. Teachers have specified adolescent girl with greater share of 60% victimization, followed by adolescent boy with 23% and less than 10% for both pre-adolescent boys and girls. With respect to perpetrators, now I would like to also draw attention towards this aspect, which is that people think that online this is something which remains there. There are very clear linkages between online offences and then being graduated into offline offences, and there are very clear linkages. So with respect to perpetrators, 68% parents did not divulge the information, while 12% revealed it to be a known person. Teachers have largely recounted both known and unknown person to be perpetrators with 53% share, and male neighbor and male relatives were reported most as the perpetrator, followed by female neighbor and relatives, while comparatively few pointed towards other known friends or persons. PRI members who have also contributed and attributed that known persons to be more than unknown persons within their jurisdiction. We also tried to understand if there was specific category of children or specific group of children who are much more vulnerable to these crimes or exploitation and abuse. We found out that from teachers have commonly observed adolescent girls between the ages of 14 to 18 years to be most vulnerable age gender group to OCSCA, followed by adolescent boys between the age of 14 to 18 years. Now this also well corresponds to the findings that we have received from the experts, who have also identified this particular age category as very important and vulnerable category. 70% of vulnerability indicated from lower to income group up to INR 2.5 lakh and INR 5 lakh respectively, with 20% in the income group of up to INR 10 lakh rupees and sharply less in the upper income group of people of income above INR 10 lakh. This corresponded with findings from the parents as well. Officials of special public prosecutors, lawyers, legal aid lawyers and CWC members referred mostly adolescent girls with a share of 33 to 34% to be victims, followed by adolescent boys from 20 to 23%. Officials from special public prosecutors and legal aid lawyers, CWPO, SJPU, CWC members, principal magistrate, JJBs remarked that the share of victimization was concentrated predominantly in the lower two income group of INR 2.5 lakhs and 5 lakhs, which is of course a share of more than 80% here. While the victimization share declined sharply at first and then gradually in the upper income group of INR 10 lakhs and above. CWPO, SJPO officials observed that victims mostly to be adolescent girls with 48% share, with few children less than 6 years also emerging as victims. Further adding observations that victims being mostly girls, women and less women girls committing OCSCA. While officials from Principal Magistrate, JJBs reiterated lack of awareness and added adolescent period to be fragile period and specified age group 14 to 18 years and students from 9 to 12 standard as the most vulnerable victims. While many cyber experts have expressed that COVID brought the issue in light, because we always see that, we have people commenting that COVID has been one primary push for this agenda. But however, we have also cyber experts who have commented that COVID has actually brought this issue into light. Otherwise, this was a prevailing condition, but due to COVID and lockdown and the period of, digital exposure to children, this was actually the stimulating point for people to identify with the issue. So, talking about the adverse impacts of COVID-19 leading to OCSCA, officials of CWPO, SJPU have added that children in urban areas have developed addiction of internet, which increase the likelihood of OCSCA, while among children in rural areas, dropouts, increase in criminal behaviors, committing crimes for money was observed. 60% of judicial officials of Children Court, Special Court have expressed views on adverse impact of COVID-19 on escalating the number of OCSCA cases. Cyber expert reiterated that the adverse impacts of COVID in spiking up OCSCA in urban areas, while in rural areas, online manipulation and sharing of nude pictures with children were specified. Most cyber experts have converging views that COVID-19 led to an increase in consumption of OCSCA. Now, talking about the information and communication technology being a facilitator to child trafficking, this was a huge finding for us to begin with. CWPO, SJPU, 75% of these officers have received cases where perpetrators have used electronic means in the commission of offence. 87.5% have affirmed the use of electronic devices in any form at any stage of commission of offences. The nature of offence that was reported was defamation, publishing sexual photos of another child, harassment, and video and photograph morphing of the children. We have also had cases from JJB member and principal magistrate who have shared cases of online interaction through Facebook, followed by an offline meeting and subsequent trafficking of a girl child in Delhi. 22% of the PRI members confirmed the incidence of trafficking in their village, which is a source area for trafficking related to OCSCA. Most cyber experts have revealed agreement over the increased use of ICT by traffickers for connecting and controlling their victims and perpetrators, advertising and receiving payments. In recent times, all of them have agreed that traffickers who use internet can traffic more children. In addition, social media platforms are the most popular methods of recruiting children online, and younger victims are recruited for trafficking by use of internet more than any other way. Talking about the awareness on legislation concerning OCSCA, while reaching out to the primary stakeholders, there was a scant awareness on legislations relating to OCSCA, with 16% of parents reported being aware of any legislation relating to OCSC, child labor, child rights, right to education, and few mentioned POCSO. Around 13% were found to have attended any training workshop with regards to OCSCA. 43% of teachers reported some form of exposure training, sensitization workshop. 63% of them reported awareness of POXO. However, in contrast to the same finding, we found out that only 29.8% of the teachers reported awareness of legislation. So while they are being trained, they are still not aware of the legislations around. So among PRIs, 35% of them were aware on POXO, while among media personnel, 57% reported attending any training sensitization workshop on OCSE. I think media becomes a very important stakeholder for us because in the absence of these legislation and these gaps, we find that media reportage to be quite insensitive, and also in terms of revealing identities, I think that has been a major concern for long. Among cyber experts, 22.5% have shared receiving periodical training on OCS. Finally, talking about the responsive mechanism, which is very important for all of us to understand how all of us have been responding towards towards these issues. So, while 70% of the parents have expressed unwillingness to report to police in case their children experience OCSE, parents have been found resorting to informal mechanism to settle the dispute in case the perpetrator is a neighbor or a peer. Even though 56% of the teachers affirm to have institutional mechanisms at school to address OCSEA, majority of them could not specify, while only few referred to internal school committees, counseling and reporting to parents or police depending on the severity of the case or informing childline at max. The PRI members confessed not maintaining migrant register, but 63% of them have VCPC in their villages and only 10% reporting instituting Panchayat Child Protection Committee in their panchayats. Few PRI members reported that they will approach police or village head in such case, while many confessed being clueless to proceed. So, I mean, thank you for giving a good hearing to this. But to actually talk about OCSCA, its presence is extending across India, whether rural or urban. And we are still to fathom the full features and dimensions of these offences and its outplay in our society. While internet accessibility marches ahead, the pandemic of OCSCA is here to stay. This needs an urgent, in-depth study to respond to it before it outruns our coping mechanisms. Delaying the process of studying and responding to this challenge, we may again fall into the trap of hasty legislation and ad hoc policy decisions. With this, we believe that we have a long road to tread ahead of us, and we are yet to take the first step. And we are very proud that CRY is the one to flag this off at first. So yeah, this is my submission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ragini. Without really wasting much time, we should go on to the CNLU team to elaborate these findings further. Professor.
Thank you, ma'am. Before elaborating these findings and recommendations, just how we have started this, just I want to tell you. CRY has sent the proposal to make a study on this. And immediately our Honorable Vice Chancellor, ma'am, and Registrar sir accepted that. And immediately we have started working on that. And for yesterday also we are working on that. Actually, after getting that proposal, objectives find out karke, we have selected the 4 states. From there, we wanted to collect the samples. With the help of CRY, we have got that data from different states where we have given importance to all who are indulged in this prosecution in the law, and of course general public, particularly parents and teachers. Accordingly, 914 samples that we have seen, and we have made
redefined questionnaires to them to get exact figures, exact opinion, and which, basing on their opinion, they fall under what category, and which law is applicable, and how the law is presently working or not. Accordingly, we have made these recommendations, and Sugandha will give more details. She has contributed a lot in this work.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity of sharing our journey in this particular research. And thank you, all respected, esteemed friends and colleagues and honorable guests and seniors here. This was a difficult journey for us to begin with. Why? Because first thing was that we did not have even a baseline study on online child sexual exploitation and abuse here. And therefore, we never had a reference point, at least. We had a lot of literature which was there from CRY as well as UNICEF, Interpol, which had explored this aspect of online child sexual exploitation abuse, but nothing like a huge survey data that we had. That was first challenge. Second thing was to explain that what is online child sexual exploitation abuse, and this is something which is different, at least something different about online child sexual exploitation abuse from the other kinds of child sexual exploitation and abuses. And one of the fundamental challenge that we actually faced was how to define it. What are the important features of these online child sexual exploitation abuses? Because we have heard of the terms like sextortion, sexting, we have heard of terms like online grooming. We have a definition also of online grooming in our law. But the general understanding about these terms, these sextortion, sexting is not defined. So it is basically would be covered under POCSO, some provisions of POCSO, some provisions of IPC. But then what are its features? So we have a guideline, Luxembourg guideline, which we looked into. We did a literature review trying to identify the features, and we used two strategies because we felt that wherever we'll go, to whomever stakeholders we go, whether they are experts in their areas, there is definitely going to be a lack of awareness on online child sexual exploitation and abuse. So we used two strategies in our research tool. We drafted questions based on the legalistic definition, for example, of pornography as defined in the POCSO, as defined in the the IT Act, as well as we also refer to the Luxembourg guidelines. We also refer to Lanzarote Convention, which is the European Convention on sexual abuse of children. And then according to that, we defined the features, the legal features of each of the offenses. But we knew that probably we would not get much of a response there. So we then also went into the literature review, which we were already doing, then identified the prevalent features of offenses which is existing in our society and across the world. And then we identified features which were prevalent in the society from the literature review. And we drafted the questions incorporating both these elements. So while on one hand, specifically with respect to the stakeholders who were experts in legal areas, what we actually did was that we asked them questions based on the law, as well as we asked them questions based on our literature review, for example, through Likert scale, where we're asking them to say yes or no, or don't know. So that was how we balanced out and tried to find some kind of content, because we were understanding that this was actually an exploratory research where we are working in an area where we do not have much of information. So this was something which I wanted to brief on, but moving quickly. These were our objectives of the research, where we wanted to confirm. We had taken very simplified objectives. We wanted to know what are the kinds of online child sexual exploitation and abuse which is there in India right now. Let's name them: sexting, sextortion, whatever. We wanted to list them. That was the first thing. The second thing was to identify the features of each of these kind of offenses. Now, this was very ambitious for us, to tell you frankly, because we were not even sure whether they knew the terms. To tell the features would be something which was expecting too much. But I can assure you that we have been partially successful, in a kind of identifying at least some of the features. And then the third one was about the contours of the victim. So essentially, to understand the pre-COVID, post-COVID, the rural-urban, the gender, indications in online child sexual exploitation and abuse, the economic criteria where there is more prevalence. So that was the third objective. And then, of course, to ascertain the awareness level of the various stakeholders, which I can assure you was extremely low, and in fact, quite candidly confessed by many stakeholders, including judicial officers, who said that there is a requirement that we should be trained about this specific online child sexual exploitation and abuse. So we had research questions on that. The research methodology was this. We had mixed method research, preferably because we were in exploratory research that we were doing, multi-level mixed design. We had wanted to have 1,000 sample size. We collected 914. We used both quantitative and qualitative method. These are the reasons why we used mixed method research. We'll go into that. The research design, again, we used multi-level mixed design, and qual and quan, both the methods were used. Sampling, this was our sampling method, very difficult for us. Specifically, as sir pointed out, we had to go into the NCRB data. We looked into the NCRB data to select the states. Then we had to select the districts. And from districts, we had to select the blocks. So we had to do a lot of sampling, and for that we looked into a lot of data, and we used these various kinds of sampling methods to identify areas where we will collect the data. So I wouldn't go again into that too much, but these were the sample states that we had: Karnataka, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, and these were the districts. One very critical point that we want to add here was this, that here we could not really go to a rural area where there was no accessibility to internet, because then we could not have generated much of data. So our strategy was, as Kumar Gaurav sir had specifically contributed in that and had said, that we can't collect data where we do not have internet accessibility, and there are areas, despite increasing accessibility, that we wouldn't have got enough data of relevance. And therefore what we targeted was less urbanized and more urbanized districts where we could get some kind of data. So that is how we chose Bengaluru, Mysore, Mumbai, Nagpur, Indore, Devas, Kolkata, and Cooch Behar. We collected 914 responses. This was our data that we collected. We have in our report segregated those data, because we selected the schools, teachers, selected from the government school as well as the private schools, so that there is a balance between that. So that also we took care of. A lot of times we did convenience sampling, specifically with respect to the stakeholders, where we had to find stakeholders who were accessible to us. Now, I'm just going to give you some glimpses. We don't have so much of time, but some glimpses where we feel probably there are a lot of things which starkly comes to us. Specifically, when we ask questions on the Likert scale. For example, I'll just randomly explain, because this is not there in this PPT, about the PRIs. We have PRIs who are saying that girls, there is an understanding that the girls have greater sexual, they are exploited sexually more than the boys. There are some who are confused specifically with respect to incest. And the responses that we got was that only 2 said that there was a possibility of incest, and 4 said that there was no possibility, like they didn't know. Probably they wouldn't have been comfortable responding to that question or not. So there are some specific data which are problematic, which really needs to be looked into, specifically in rural areas, where we will find at least in certain aspects some kind of conservatism among the PRI members. But nevertheless, I just want to show you some of the responses. For example, I'm just showing the responses in terms of not mentioning the percentage, etc. But yeah, like if we see shared illicit video online trafficking, 25%. You have no response by 38%, matter sub judice by 25%, use of social media apps, the kind of offenses, if you can see, they are facilitating online trafficking. This was very surprising for us, but this was reasserted by at least two of the stakeholders, cyber experts, specifically also pointed about use of trafficking online, specifically for children, specifically on the Likert scale. So these are the offenses which was mentioned by the CWPOs, if you can see. Then again, CWPO, the kind of offenses that they have found out, they have given their responses to all these cyber offenses that which they feel they have come across them. These are the platforms. This is very important. The platforms, I'm talking about specific stakeholders. There was also one issue that I would want to point out here with respect to our research. There were only few questions which we could commonly ask all stakeholders, because the stakeholders were located at different locations in the child protection framework. So it wasn't possible for us to ask same kind of repeated questions, standard questions to all stakeholders. So we had very few standard questions. That was the very difficult part of this research, and that is why it became very vast, because each of the stakeholders had individual set of questions and individual set of analysis we had to go through. So this CWC is 43.7% responded that they had come across cases in their jurisdiction where electronic devices were used at any stage of commission of child sexual exploitation and abuse of child in need of care and protection, which Ragini has also shared. What are the kinds of features of offenses? CWC has talked about defamation of women, sexual harassment, bullying, cheating, sexual abuse and trafficking, video viral on social media. Similarly, principal magistrates have shared that they have come across these kind of offenses. Now, as I'm sharing it again, we asked open-ended questions to the principal magistrates. So we just asked them, what are the kind of online child sexual exploitation abuses you have come across? So they were basically, some stakeholders were asked close-ended questions, some stakeholders were asked open-ended questions, and specifically with respect to, not with respect to principal magistrate, but with respect to judicial officers, we had asked closed questions. So they said, the principal magistrate said that they have all, whether they get cases where child in conflict with law had used electronic device, social media platforms in any form at any stage of online child sexual exploitation abuse, they said yes. So there is a great increase. We drafted this question specifically for them to answer, because in terms of asking this question whether there is an online child sexual exploitation abuse, to ask this question that whether electronic device has been used, we would elicit better response. And we see that all of them have responded positively, 7 of them. Just a glimpse again, very interesting data. You will find that principal magistrate JJB members were requested to ascertain the proportion of petty, serious and heinous online child sexual exploitation abuse they may have come across. We will find that consistently, and that is the convergence of data that we have here. And that is what validates this data, that is our contention, is essentially this, that we will find that systematically across all the cyber experts, this is a data by the principal magistrate and JJB, we will find that except for Maharashtra, that is Nagpur, we will find we had two JJP members and principal magistrate who said that most of the heinous of proportion of online child sexual exploitation abuse involved heinous offenses. So these are offenses which is committed by a child, and 50 and 85%, according to them, was the data that they gave, was the heinous kind of offense which was committed by children. But this was a peculiar thing about Nagpur, but other data were very consistent. So very specific, place-specific data responses also we have found here. Then we have cyber experts. 27% of cyber experts noted, only 27% actually said that they have come across online child sexual exploitation abuse. Then we were asked, I'm just giving some glimpses. This is a Likert scare where we have asked questions on live streaming. You will find that what they have responded. Live streaming of online child sexual exploitation abuse makes it difficult for authorities to detect it. 8 have said yes. Live streaming of self-produced online child sexual exploitation abuse has been an increase during recent times. Yes, self-produced. This is very, very critical, because when we are talking about self-produced, there are two things. One, there is probably a lot of consensual sensitive data that is being shared between consenting adolescents or consenting adults. Secondly, probably there is coercion of some children who are compelled as a part of sextortion to produce those kind of data. So this also needs to be looked into. Then distant. Now this is very important, because here is the extraterritorial aspect which comes into picture, because a lot of live streaming also happens for the customers who are located outside the Indian jurisdiction. So for example, distant from other country live streamed child sexual exploitation abuse such as paid for webcam shows are increasing in recent times. 6 have agreed, but 5 don't know, the cyber experts. So what we really find is that there is a definite trend towards online live streaming of child sexual exploitation and abuse to a certain extent. So these are some of the, as I said, judicial officers. They have again mentioned the kind of online offenses that they have seen. 50% have reported cyberbullying, sharing of child pornography. Yeah. So these are some of the glimpses that I wanted to share. But now I would just come to the certain gaps that we have identified. There are 2-3 things that we have come to a conclusion broadly, is that there is existence of all online child sexual exploitation abuse in India. We are not aware of the terminology. The child sexual exploitation abuses, online child sexual exploitation abuses are being covered under various provisions of IPC, IT Act, specifically Section 67B, and also POCSO. POCSO has one limitation that I feel that broadly it covers more of offline child sexual exploitation abuse. Non-touch kind of child sexual exploitation abuse is more covered under Section 11, but Section 11 has punishment of only 3 years. And whether that, therefore, the next question is that when we look at the characteristics of online child sexual exploitation abuse, we'll find that they are definitely multiple offenses which are involved in any online child sexual exploitation abuse. Online grooming is the first one. There is an extensive online grooming data that we have found. If they are not all online grooming, they are potential online grooming cases, and therefore we have a huge environment and ecosystem for producing greater online child sexual exploitation abuse of our children. There are many things that we want to share, but I would want Gaurav sir to kindly throw some light on the IT Act and the aspects of the IT Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you so much.
Very good afternoon to the caring and the concerned people as far as the child rights is concerned. Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to discuss some of the gray areas of as far the IT Act is concerned, as for this report we have found. Let me talk about from the outset, when there are few questions before I talk about the gray areas which we have found during our research regarding the child and how they are using this internet and why the most of the offenses are taking place, and that there is a rampant increase as for the offenses against children. For that, we need to understand how this IT ecosystem specifically works. When we talk about this IT ecosystem, there are 4 characteristics which are responsible and which is making this whole concept a complex environment. The first, it's a borderless phenomenon. Second, it's a speed in terms of the way we disseminating the things. Third, the anonymity. And the fourth is the interconnectedness. These 4 features making this thing a complex, because the biggest strength of this platform again become the biggest weakness of this platform as for these child offenses is concerned. Now I'm coming to some of the concern, very few questions before I talk about the gray areas. If we are not letting our child free on a busy traffic, we are holding their hand very tight, then why we are keeping our children free in this information superhighway? Now this question arises on the as well the parenting is concerned, and in all the stakeholders that what we can do for this. Now coming to the some of the gray areas which we have found, particularly as for the cyber forensics, in the area of cyber forensic, digital evidence, and the role of police in that. The first and foremost important thing which I found during the interacting with the numbers of investigating officers, the prosecution officers, and the numbers of judicial officers, the biggest issue was related to the digital evidence in its collection. We found that although they say that we conducted the training programs, periodic basis, we attended the training programs, but when we interacted them and when we asked a few questions that how you proceed and what are the methodology, whether you have a SOP has I have SOP. They show you, but when you ask very simple question, when your system is on or when your system is off, then how you collect the data? Is there any specific mechanism you have? Then no, nahi, hamare expert hai. So they deny those questions whenever we go the technical aspects of those data collection. And I think that the very aspect of in the forensics, we study that the crime scene is the most sacrosanct place for any investigating officer. Once it is vandalized, as for the collection of evidence is concerned, if you're not able to identify where the evidence can be and how to collect, and when it comes to the digital evidence, the very nature is very fragile. If you're not able to identify where it is located, how we can collect it, how we can analyze it, how we can preserve it, then the whole administration of justice will fail. So this is the first step where we need to work on, where we need to strengthen, although we have the provision in the IT Act. Also, particularly in the digital, in the Evidence Act 65B is there, which we say that there is a need of digital certificate for producing this digital evidence in the court of law. But even there is, although the Supreme Court judgment is also there. Recently, the Supreme Court talked about that, clarified the ambiguity related to the producing the digital certificate. But still, when we go to the people, we found that the law in books and the law in practice, there are two different aspects we found. As for the digital evidences is concerned, while talking with the numbers of people, that how they appreciate the evidence at the various levels, starting from the IO, the prosecutions, the judicial officers. Because if you fail at the first instance, at the digital evidence collection, there will be the less conviction. And that is why we find that there is a less conviction in that for the child right of child related offenses is concerned. Now coming to the second aspect, that why the problem arises. Everywhere the intermediaries is involved. I consider it is a backbone of this IT ecosystem. For every aspect, in every transaction, the intermediary this way or that way is involved. If you go through with the definition of intermediary in section 2(1)(w), then you will find out that why I'm saying it is considering it is nut and bolt of the ecosystem and the backbone. But although the recent 2021 guidelines is there as for the intermediaries is concerned, and the government had very effectively made a very stringent provision that the how intermediary should respond in the cases. But one of the major problem which I found as far as while talking to the IOs, that if any case involved, there is an involvement of high intermediaries there, that what should be their response, in what manner they are helping you. So there we need to work on, like in most of the cases, we find that these cases, if the cases is a cross-border transaction, it's a borderless phenomenon. Whenever the cross-border transaction is concerned, although the specific law we have, but when we enforce it, when we go into the practice, there are lots of time it will take. And here particularly in the cases related to the child offenses, the time is the essence. The how quickly you respond, it's the only way out. And the third area which I want to talk about here, regarding the that when we interviewed the numbers of judicial magistrate, they are aware of these online offenses, but when we specifically trying to ask them, they don't have the such detailing and the technical know-how of these offenses is concerned. We need a more such training programs where we also work on the technical know-how at each and every level of criminal justice system, be it IO, be it prosecution, be it the judicial officers. Then only we can able to curb this, because there is I in my deliberation with this single statement of Mark Goodman, I read a book called Future Crimes. In that, there is a very good line: the more you connected, the more you depended, the more you vulnerable as for this internet is concerned. Only one thing we have to do, that we have to find out the way that in this world how we can be safe and keep our children safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar Gaurav. So much. I mean, there have been so many insights from Snigdha's and in the entire CNLU team's presentation, especially how we don't have enough body of knowledge to start with, and how we can gather information and whatever existing knowledge we have by comparing the law and the body and the review of literature. That's the starting point. And these 4 points are very interesting, that this whole space is borderless, this whole space is interconnected, there is a space of anonymity, and and the speed with which it works, and unfortunately we are not able to match that speed with which it is working. So yeah, a lot of food for thought. So let's continue this deliberation, and I invite Anant to take to the next level.
Thank you. Before I proceed, I just want to flag that I'm aware there's a lunch time. So and I won't take 20 minutes which have been allocated to me, but I'll make some points. Of course, this work which CRY and the Child Rights Center of Chanakya Law School has produced pushes the boundary and encourages the discourse which is happening in public spaces. A lot of it is not as public as the time requires, but many of us, I personally know, many of us present here are engaged with this subject. So in that sense, I congratulate CRY and Center for Child and Law, Chanakya University, for coming forward with this study which is based on critical data. I won't go into the details of this, but I'll make few points. You remember the cryptocurrency thing, right? Many of us wanted to buy it, no? But then by the time it became a public discourse, we realized that there is a law coming. So everybody like, okay, पहले law आ जाए फिर खरीदते हैं. लेकिन उसके पहले कई लोग लखपति हो गए इसमें. और यही ऑनलाइन स्पेस का करेक्टर है. It comes into our life and it's a vulnerable space. हम सब अपने लाइफ में भी देखते हैं किसी से हेलो बोलने में कितनी शर्म आती है. और वहीं अगर वो फेसबुक पे ऐड हो जाए, व्हाट्सएप नंबर मिल जाए, तो कितनी आसानी से कन्वर्सेशन शुरू हो जाते हैं, नहीं? हाय, व्हाट्सअप, एंड देन नाउ दैट्स एन अपॉर्चुनिटी, बट दैट्स ऑल्सो क्रिएट लॉट्स ऑफ रिस्क. इट कनेक्ट्स पीपल. अब वो जो स्पेस है जो फिजिकल डायमेंशन में कठिन है, ऑनलाइन स्पेस जो है उसको इतना लिक्विड और इतना आसान बना देता है. और उसके सामाजिक प्रभाव हम देखते हैं. हमारे बच्चों को वैसे तो फिजिकली हम देख के रखते हैं, लेकिन अगर कहीं मोबाइल है, परिवारों में देखिए ना, मम्मी के मोबाइल से बच्चे व्हाट्सअप कर रहे होते हैं, पता नहीं चलता है. पूछते हैं, हमारी खुद की भांजी है, उससे हम पूछते हैं अच्छा कौन बोल रहा है, मम्मी की गौरी, तो बोलते हैं हम गौरी बोल रहे हैं मामा. पता नहीं चलता, बट शी इज चैटिंग ऑन व्हाट्सएप. अब इसको जो है लॉ से रेगुलेट करने की ज़रूरत महसूस हो रही है, क्योंकि खतरा बढ़ता हुआ दिख रहा है. और वो खतरा कितना है वो सब डिटेल अपनी स्टडी में निकल करके आई है. और हमने इससे पहले इतनी बढ़िया स्टडी नहीं पढ़ी है. हालांकि एक किताब जरूर पढ़ी है डॉक्टर PM नायर की, जिसमें इन्होंने चैप्टर 1 में छोटा सा आधा पैराग्राफ आपने लिखा है सेक्सुअल ऑफेंसेस और IT के कनेक्ट के बारे में. और उसके अलावा एक 23 पेज का एक अलग से चैप्टर है साइबर ऑफेंसेस अगेंस्ट चिल्ड्रन. उसको जरूर पढ़िएगा. पब्लिकली अवेलेबल बुकलेट है वो, बहुत डिटेल में उसको. उसके अलावा कोई खास मजबूती का काम देखने में नहीं आया है. ये स्टडी हमको अच्छी लग रही है, कवरेज काफ़ी बढ़िया है. आज 18 तारीख है और ये दिन महत्वपूर्ण इसलिए है क्योंकि आज ही 23 है ना, ये 15, 8 साल पहले आज ही के दिन चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ इंडिया को एक पत्र प्राप्त हुआ. आप में से कुछ लोग जानते होंगे. और वो पत्र किस बारे में था? अपनी ही एक साथी हैं साउथ इंडिया की, उन्होंने गैंग रेप करते हुए और उसको फिल्माते हुए वीडियोस सर्कुलेट किए गए. तो एक अपराधी रेप कर रहा है, दूसरा खड़ा होकर उसका वीडियो बना रहा है. और वो इस तरह के 2 वीडियो, और ये सर्कुलेशन में चलते हैं, डार्क वेब पे खूब हैं, जनरली हम लोगों की उस पर भी आई जाते हैं. तो ये 2 चीज़ें उन्होंने उस वक्त ऑनरेबल जस्टिस दत्तू वो चीफ जस्टिस, तो उनको ये पत्र प्राप्त हुआ आज ही के दिन 18 फरवरी 2015 को ये पत्र सुप्रीम कोर्ट में प्राप्त हुआ. उसका कॉग्निजेंस लिया गया और जस्टिस UU ललित और जस्टिस मदन बी लोकुर, इन्होंने सो मोटो क्रिमिनल रिट पिटीशन इनिशिएट की. उसकी वजह से बहुत सारा इंगेजमेंट जो शायद कुछ सालों के बाद होता, वो न्यायपालिका के संज्ञान की वजह से बड़ी स्पीड से हुआ. और तेज बोलना है. अब जैसे आपने देखा होगा साइबर क्राइम पोर्टल बना है, हाँ, जिन्होंने ना देखा हो देखिएगा. हाँ, वो रिपोर्टिंग का बड़ा आसान माध्यम, वो इसी सुप्रीम कोर्ट के केस की प्रोसीडिंग का ही प्रोडक्ट है. ऑफ कोर्स उसमें बहुत सारा टेक्निकल इनपुट विशेषज्ञों का गया, लेकिन प्रॉम्प्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट नहीं किया. इंटरमीडिएट की बात अभी हुई तो हम आपके सामने रखना चाहेंगे. खुद सरकार ने क्या परेशानियां सुप्रीम कोर्ट को बताई. ये वो विषय है जिस पे जब हम लॉ के बारे में बात करेंगे तो संवेदनाओं से आगे बढ़ करके टेक्निकल डिटेल्स पे बात करना पड़ेगा. ऑनलाइन स्पेसेस हमको आज़ादी भी देते हैं, ये याद रखिएगा. आप नहीं चाहते कि आपका व्हाट्सअप कोई थर्ड पार्टी पढ़ रहा हो. कोई है यहाँ जो चाहता हो कि हमारा व्हाट्सअप थर्ड पार्टी पढ़ ले? लेकिन इसी मन से हम कहेंगे कि अगर सेक्सुअल कंटेंट आप सर्कुलेट कर रहे हो तो सरकार इतनी पावर रखेगी कि आपका कंटेंट वो पढ़ लेगी. तो आप कैसे इन दोनों को बैलेंस करेंगे आप? तो संवैधानिक मसला भी है, बुनियादी आज़ादियों का मसला भी है. केवल एक पक्ष जो जिस पर हम लोग अभी बात कर रहे हैं वो है, लेकिन जब कानून बनेगा तो दोनों पक्ष देखे जाएंगे. संविधान देखा जाएगा, नागरिक आज़ादी देखी जाएगी, सिविल लिबर्टीज़ के प्रश्न देखे जाएंगे, बहुत सारे प्रश्न. जटिल विषय है, इसलिए डिटेल्स में जाना पड़ेगा. थोड़ा सा बस हम इस बारे में चर्चा करेंगे ताकि जो लोग इंगेज होना चाहते हैं इस सब्जेक्ट पर और गंभीरता के साथ वो आगे चलें. इसमें सॉलिसिटर जनरल ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट को परेशानियां बताई, अपनी 5 परेशानियां. ये जो पोर्टल्स हैं फेसबुक, व्हाट्सएप, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, गूगल, यूट्यूब, यही सब हैं ज़्यादातर जो इस्तेमाल। अब तो खैर और भी बहुत सारे हैं, इंस्टाग्राम है, बहुत सारे दुनिया भर के ऐसे ऐप हैं जो ड्यूबियस ऐप हैं जिनको सरकार ने बैन कर रखा है, लेकिन बच्चों की एक्सेस तो है ही है। तो उसमें आप एक वीडियो देखिए और अगर एक आपने प्रवचन देख लिया तो फिर प्रवचनों की ही लाइन लग जाएगी, राइट? तो वहाँ तक तो स्वागत है, लेकिन जैसे ही सेक्सुअल कंटेंट देख लिया तो फिर सेक्सुअल कंटेंट की लाइन लग जाएगी। कई बार लोग पकड़े जाते हैं ना कि क्या आ रहा है, तो जो सयाने वो समझ जाते हैं कि तुमने पहले देखा है इसीलिए आ रहा है, खुद से नहीं आ रहा है, राइट? उसको कैसे रेगुलेट किया जाएगा, सब डिटेल्स जानी पड़ेंगे। सर हैं अभी इसके बारे में थोड़ा टेक्निकल चीज़ों पर बात करेंगे। 2018 में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के सामने सॉलिसिटर जनरल की तरफ से 5 एरियाज ऐसे प्रस्तुत किए गए कि साहब इनके ऊपर हमको स्पष्टता चाहिए। ऑटो डिटेक्शन और अनलॉफुल कंटेंट का ऑटो डिटेक्शन और उसकी मॉनिटरिंग के लिए किस तरीके के टूल्स मौजूदा आईटी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर देता है और किस हद तक ये रेगुलेट किया जा सकता है। हमारा फ़ोन कैसे ऑटोमेटिक स्कैन हो जाए किसी भी सेक्सुअल कंटेंट के लिए, इस पर जितने भी ऐप हैं, ये एक बहुत जटिल मुद्दा है जिस पर कानून बनाने वाले समाधान ढूंढते हैं। कैसे किया जाएगा ये डिटेक्शन? डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑफ ट्रस्टेड फ्लैगर्स फॉर आइडेंटिटी एंड डिटेक्शन ऑफ अनलॉफुल कंटेंट। ट्रस्टेड फ्लैगर, किसके हाथ में जिम्मेदारी दी जाए ऑनलाइन स्पेसेस को मॉनिटर करने की? समझ रहे हैं ना ऑनलाइन स्पेस कितना, हम लोग का कितना काम ऑनलाइन में चलता है, मीटिंगें ऑर्गेनाइज होती हैं, सेंसिटिव इंफॉर्मेशन। तो अगर किसी को जिम्मेदारी दी जाएगी तो वो कौन हो सकता है ट्रस्टेड फ्लैगर? क्या सरकार हो सकती है? सरकार होगी तो नागरिक चिल्लाएंगे, बोलेंगे हमारी आज़ादी में सरकार का अतिक्रमण हो रहा है। हम नहीं चाहते कि हमारा निजी संवाद सरकार की कोई एजेंसी पढ़े, तो ये चिंताएं हैं। सेटिंग अप ऑफ 24/7 मैकेनिज्म, जो हमारे साथी कोर्टों में जाते हैं वो सब वाकिफ़ हैं। पुलिस ऑफिसर कितना दुखी हो जाते हैं, जो एजेंसीज हैं जिनके पास ये इन्फॉर्मेशन वो देती ही नहीं है। पुलिस ऑफिसर परेशान है रिक्वेस्ट लिख लिख करके, तो उनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी क्या है? तो तीसरा इशू ये भी फ्लैग किया गया, सेटिंग अप ऑफ 24/7 मैकेनिज्म फॉर डीलिंग विद रिक्विजिशन ऑफ लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसीज। इसमें से कई मामले जो स्टडी में फ्लैग भी हुआ है कि वो टेरिटोरियली इंडिया के बाहर की एंटिटीज़ हैं, उनसे कैसे लेंगे इन्फॉर्मेशन, उनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी क्या है? अगर इंडिया का 120 करोड़ यूज़र कोई कंपनी यूज़ कर रही है तो क्या ये शर्त लगाई जा सकती है कि आप मार्केट करिए, बिजनेस करिए यहाँ पर, लेकिन हमारी इन्वेस्टिगेटिंग एजेंसी जब आपसे मांगेंगी कुछ जानकारी तो आपकी बाध्यता क्या होगी? ये एक एरिया है, ये मेजर एरियाज हैं। अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ इंडिया बेस्ड कॉन्टैक्ट ऑफिसर एंड एस्केलेशन ऑफिसर, ये चौथा इशू है। प्रॉम्प्ट डिस्पोजल ऑफ रिक्विजिशन ऑफ लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट एजेंसीज एंड रिमूवल ऑफ अनलॉफुल कंटेंट। ये 5 चीज़ें तो ऑन रिकॉर्ड हैं जो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के 28 नवंबर 2018 के जजमेंट में दर्ज हैं बतौर भारत सरकार के जो सर्वोच्च अधिवक्ता हैं उनके सबमिशन के तौर पर। इससे आपको अंदाज़ा मिलता है कि चैलेंज कितना बड़ा है लॉ मेकर्स का, राइट? इन सब्जेक्ट्स पे हम सब लोग इंगेज करें, उस दिशा में ये अपना एक अच्छा प्रयास हुआ है। बच्चों के लिए हमारा जो पॉक्सो एक्ट है वो ऐसा नहीं है कि बिल्कुल खामोश है। सेक्शन 2 में ही उसमें रेफरेंसेस है कि कोई ऐसा शब्द अगर पॉक्सो एक्ट में होगा, यूज़ किया गया है, तो उसमें आईटी एक्ट का रेफरेंस है। तो उसको केयरफुली अगर आप देखेंगे तो बहुत सारा चाइल्ड पोर्नोग्राफी को लेकर के तो खैर हमारा इंटरनेशनल कमिटमेंट है इंडिया का, तो उसके लिए अमेंडमेंट उस सबसे सब लोग वाकिफ़ हैं। लेकिन फिर भी एक सामान्य समझ यही है कि पॉक्सो जो है वो ऑनलाइन से उतना इंगेज नहीं करता है। इस स्टडी में भी निकल करके यही आया है कि हमारी समझ भी उतनी सटीक नहीं है इन 10-12 साल पुराने कानूनों पर भी। तो एक बार ऑनलाइन के नज़रिए से, हम खुद तो पढ़ ही रहे हैं, खैर हम आप सबसे भी रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि जो पॉक्सो के प्रैक्टिशनर्स हैं, कई हमारे यहाँ वकील साथी बैठे हुए हैं जो पॉक्सो का ही लिटिगेशन करते हैं, उनकी जानकारी में आता होगा, तो इस संवाद को थोड़ा सा और पुष्ट किया जाए। हमको लगता है यही 2-4 चीज़ें हम कह करके अपनी बात यहाँ समाप्त करेंगे। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सो मच अनंत। अनंत जी के साथ बैठ के तो बहुत लंबी बात हो सकती है और मुझे खुद को टेम्पटिंग लग रहा है कि थोड़ा और इसको खींचे, लेकिन टाइम नहीं है। नहीं तो इनके पास बहुत एक्सपीरियंस है जो लाइव केसेस के साथ हमें लर्निंग्स बता सकते हैं। कभी और करेंगे वो ज़रूर। बट थैंक यू अनंत टू draw our attention to the legal space and what we might face in future when we call for these different laws and treaties to engage, and how right to privacy and freedom of expression will come into play when we are going to figure out how we should protect our children, especially in the online space. So thank you once again. Before going to Subimal, I think we have Special Commissioner of Police with us, Dipendra ji. He's on his way. So you'll have to tell us then. Okay. So fair enough. So we go to you then. Subimal, it's right time for you to start maybe. Thank you. And in an area which at least I'm very, very vague about, and I'm really keen. Yeah, I think I can speak for the whole room that if Anant is saying all of us are, then we all are. So please throw some light, Subimal, on the cyberspace.
Sure. Generally, I'm soft-spoken, so the distinguished Justice Mridula Mishra, the very well-regarded police officer Dr. P.M. Nair, Professor Arya, almost all of you who work in this space around how do we protect our children. They are always the assets of the society. The team from CRY as well as the university who have really painstakingly come forward with such a credible report. I personally feel that this is a time when such report is really required, because the volume of activities online has gone so much, and I am a follower and worker in this space for the last 25 years. So very closely I have seen the whole sector grow, the issues that come up, the way you deal with it from a business point of view, from a society point of view, from almost every aspect. That's where a report like this is very, very critical and crucial. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Asthana has flagged a few of the points, and just before that, Ms. Sinha has also very well depicted in her presentation what the study has shown. As a practitioner on the ground, more on a policy level, but having to get involved into many individual cases, despite not being directly involved in a law enforcement function or counseling or anything like that, but almost on a day-to-day basis, you get requested with specific cases, and you have to get into it, and every case has so many nuances. So since morning, so many issues have been flagged. We possibly are still at the surface of the problem or the issues to tackle and handle. But I'll just tell you, ever since I've come here at 11:07 till this point of time, in many moments you might be seeing I'm on my mobile doing WhatsApp. So I was actually handling one such harassment case. In the report you could say cyber bullying you have seen as a term. But there was a case But there is an ongoing case going on where law enforcement, the psychologist, the lady victim, all are communicating. I'm trying to do the link up and trying to see that at least something like this happen. Now this is happening on a real-time basis. I am sitting here. I was sitting with Ms. Moitro there and all ever since the first session I was on a call. A lady from a remote district in Assam had messaged me, a young lady, that she wanted to talk to me regarding a cyber crime. I said, I am in a session, after 3 o'clock I'll be free. She said, sir, it is life-threatening. So I showed a couple of people when I had tea that this is how it happens. I spoke to her. I heard how she was being harassed by a man from Bangalore. And she was fearing that that man had already reached Assam in that place far away from Guwahati to go and trouble her. He has been creating a lot of problems, calling her friends, calling her parents, every kind of issues. I spoke to the SP of that particular district. She is a very nice lady, incidentally. I spoke to her. She said, I am not in office. The additional SP crime will attend to her. Please, Dada, send her. The lady went and met. And right now, they have possibly started tracking where this Bangalore man is. And the reference of this lady came actually from a psychologist 2 days back. A professor of psychology from a medical college in Assam 2 days back said, case like this is happening, you might, or if you can help. Now, why I am narrating all of these things is, you will see that at so many prick points, this whole kind of a live case happens. A psychologist is involved because he is seeing a young lady in a traumatic situation because of the harassment going on for whatever time, I don't know. The lady is not convinced going to a police station on her own because she never got or she never gets the right response. I heard, sir, you tell about people not reporting, but even when it is reported, the trouble is that at the Thana level and even at other levels, many girls are told you better compromise with the guy rather than conclusively taking it forward. So she went through that cycle. Now at the highest level intervention, say the criminal, would be tracked or followed. And then there are a lot of issues around, jurisdictions, the Karnataka police, Assam police has to get involved. Thank God it's still within the country, but, cyberspace is a kind of a borderless entity. So every country is a neighbor now. So you have crimes that can happen from anywhere. Now, do the MLATs work? Do the laws prevailing global order work? No. So all of these issues actually come up. And this is where this space has become a kind of a fearful space for many, particularly for children and women. Children face the brunt of the problems. I was just seeing the slides about the platforms, how the platforms are, basically the entities through which much of these crimes happen. And if you saw the pie chart that was there, where Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram, those were the largest in terms of such platforms being used for all the online crimes for children. Now, come back for a moment to the fact that in India we have right now 48 crore Facebook users, about 40 crore 48 crore WhatsApp users, 40 crores Facebook users, and 23 crore Instagram users. It's huge. And communication happens in many multi-direction, or what is the content that goes through. Well, the least said the better, but every survey, every entity definitely finds out that a lot of the criminal aspect also goes through these networks. Do you leave that content to go without any trace? Yes, from a privacy standard, you never, or whatever principles, you never want your communications to be traced and tracked. What is the level of due diligence that the platforms follow? What is the level of support and responsiveness that they remain to the law enforcement agencies or even to the judicial requests? That's again, experience shows that it's very, very lukewarm or not commensurate to the speed and pace at which it is required, because everything is happening online in no time. So there are so many issues that has emerged and evolved as more and more people have got into this space. The internet was a platform for everyone to communicate freely. I think still it remains so, but with that freedom also has come a lot of the harassers, lot of the incidents that go on. Today morning I have written a column in Indian Express. Those of you read it, you can see. I have written on the online gambling aspect and the effort here in this country now to regulate the online gaming section. Today, India has only 1% of the online gaming ecosystem in the world. China has 25%, US has 23%. Now, who are the vulnerable even in this sector? This sector is going to grow from 1% to India is one of the fastest growing online gaming sector in the last 3 years. In the next 5 years, it will go to, as per the survey and everything, much beyond 7 to 10 million. Which is the group that gets impacted in this? Is there a way to, find a way to protect them? Mr. Anand had very well mentioned about the fact that while, online legally, whatever legislation we are doing, we are still looking at 18 years as the legal age. But who or how do you control the fact that parents themselves give the mobile with all the apps and everything open at a much, much tender age, even, beyond teenagers' age? So when a crime happens from that, assuming, it has happened for whatever intent. So where is the societal responsibility? Now, all of these things has been touched. And if you ask me, is there a solution? This is not a problem only about our country. This is a problem globally, that this facilitation of crime through the online communication network, that's going to remain, that's going to continue. You are not, or you won't be ever able with any kind of a technical solution or the best of the legal efforts to stop all of that. So you have to learn to live with it. That's the approach. It's very, very clear now. If you have to live with it, then where is the balance that you draw? How much of laws you have? How much of the powers you give to the law enforcement, because they themselves also become a law unto themselves in many cases. And how much is the capacity of all the institutions to be able to handle the issues that come up? There are clear cases where, many investigative aspect to the legal aspect possibly might not be able to encapsulate the whole scenario and situation. So where is the capacity building happening? The intent of the Information Technology Act from 2000, when it was brought into the amendment in 2008 and implemented from 9, to the efforts right now, to specifically go into the Digital Security Act as well as the Data Protection Act that also comes in. Now, these legal intent definitely is there on the horizon, that we will bring in laws and everything. But where does it comes to implementation? Where is the balance that you draw, that how much does society handle all these things? Because a child and protection of a child and the possibilities or the additional trouble that has happened because of the facilitation that has come in because of the online platforms, these are something that has to be happening in a very, very engaging fashion at many levels. It's just not a one-off report from CRY. It's something that has to get in far much more in terms of the awareness building, in terms of going to the right sections, in terms of having cross-sectional conversations, in terms of formalizing right policy to address. You bring in provisions in the law, but if the same thing happens that people have a fear to go and report, or if someone goes to report, he is told, you better find a way to compromise or whatever and all, we are leading to nowhere. No doubt, a lot of capacity has happened in terms of taking cyber crimes at face value. No doubt, the online registration of crimes through the Home Ministry portal has ensured that people also have a method to complain rather than going in a police station. But there is a lot of work even that has to happen. That are most important. Personally, I feel working in this space for more than 2 decades and seeing even the conversations happening globally is that a lot of societal responsibility has to come in. I think parents, teachers, and that's where your survey is very important, because in the number of 914 people you have gone, the maximum number of teachers and parents were there. They are the people, that community has to be engaged far much more. Their understanding, their knowledge, their way to sort of inculcate in the child about how they handle what they see, or the content management, everything is very important. As the former Minister Santosh Gangwarji spoke in the morning, that 50,000 rupees mobile phone in a village, and the parents even don't have a clue about how that mobile phone came or something like that. These are really worrying, because everyone is now having a device. No one wants to settle with a 3,000 or 5,000 rupees phone. Everyone wants the best, which they can play games at the best speed, they can watch movies at the best speed. So that aspirational value is very, very high. That aspirational aspect always doesn't come in a very mature way. It comes in a like a third, and that's where these young minds gets deprivated also very fast and all. So I think this is a much larger social issue. I've finished my 2 minutes warning time. So thank you all, and please continue your hard work around this whole space. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhattacharya. Thank you for throwing light again. All these issues are telling us to do another session to get into more of the depths of this whole issue. But yes, the role of the society is so integral, and we must, ponder on that. I take this opportunity to welcome a special police commissioner who's with us, Dipendra Pathak ji. Thank you so much. We are really honored to have you here, and if it would be really nice if you share your share your thoughts on this issue. It would be really nice.
So before that, I would just like to give a brief bio of Sir. So Shri Dipendra Pathak is a senior IPS officer with a distinguished law enforcement career. He is currently serving as Special Commissioner of Police, Law and Order Zone 1, Delhi Police. He has done his Masters in Chemistry from IIT Delhi. He has a vast interest in research and has done his MPhil in Environmental Sciences from JNU. He joined Indian Police Service in 1990 and held several important positions like the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Rashtrapati Bhavan, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Provisioning and Logistics, Delhi Police, and Deputy Commissioner of Police, Indira Gandhi International Airport. He has been awarded Police Medal for Meritorious Service on the occasion of Independence Day 2008 and also the President Police Medal for Distinguished Service on the occasion of Republic Day 2015. Also, sir has been extremely supportive towards CRY and its work, and he has always supported us whenever we have sought his support. So, welcome, sir. I would request Soha to present a token. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
So much as this is something for your table which
Yes,
will
ma'am.
remind you of your
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.